The night has arrived, casting a velvety blanket of silence over the world outside, and here, in this sanctuary of stillness, there is nothing for you to do but breathe. Allow your eyes to close, not with force, but with the gentle surrender of a heavy curtain falling at the end of a long, beautiful play. Feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into the mattress, as if the bed were made of soft, warm clouds rising to meet you, cradling every muscle, every bone, every weary thought. There is a profound safety in this darkness, a protective cocoon where the demands of the day dissolve like sugar in warm tea. Notice the rhythm of your own breathing, the slow, tidal rise and fall of your chest. With each inhale, you draw in a mist of calm, a silver light that travels through your veins, untying the knots in your shoulders, smoothing the furrows of your brow. With each exhale, you release the dust of yesterday, letting it drift away into the shadows, leaving you lighter, emptier, and more receptive to the peace that awaits. Imagine, if you will, that you're weightless, detached from the pull of the earth, floating in a vast indigo expanse of pure potential. You're safe here, guided by the sound of my voice, which serves as a tether to the ground while your spirit begins to soar. We're about to embark on a journey, not of feet and miles, but of mind and memory, drifting across continents to a land of ancient whispers and timeless beauty. Picture a golden thread unraveling from your heart, pulling you gently through the starlight, across oceans and mountains, toward the cradle of civilization. We are drifting toward the plateau of Iran, a land where history is etched into the stone and the wind carries the scent of roses and poetry. There is no rush to arrive, for the journey itself is the lullaby. Feel the air change around you, becoming warmer, carrying the faint, dry scent of ancient earth and the sweet perfume of jasmine blooming in the night. You're completely at ease, your mind a quiet lake reflecting the moon, ready to absorb the serene truths of this majestic land. As we descend through the gossamer clouds, our feet touch down softly on the slopes of a sleeping giant, the majestic Mount Damavand. Visualize yourself standing at the base of this snow-capped stratovolcano, the highest peak in the Middle East, rising like a white sentinel against the azure sky. It is not merely a mountain. In the realm of Persian mythology, it is a living entity, a symbol of resistance and stoic power. Imagine the air here, crisp, thin, and impossibly pure, filling your lungs with a cooling vitality that sharpens your senses while calming your pulse. The snow at the summit never fully melts, creating a perpetual crown of white that gleams under the sun and glows ethereally under the moon. You can see the fumaroles near the crater, releasing gentle plumes of sulfur steam, a quiet reminder of the dormant fire that sleeps deep within the earth, much like the energy resting within you now. Feel the texture of the volcanic rock beneath your boots, rough and ancient, grounding you to the history of the land. Damavand is often shrouded in a mystical fog, playing hide and seek with the horizon, and as you gaze up at its symmetrical cone, you feel a sense of insignificance that is strangely comforting, a reminder that nature is vast and enduring, holding space for you. In the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings, this mountain was the prison of a three-headed dragon, bound in chains within its caverns. But tonight, there are no monsters, only the peaceful silence of the high altitude. The wind whispers through the rocky crags, carrying tales of heroes and demons, but they are distant echoes, softened by the snow. You are wrapped in the mountain's shadow, protected by its colossal form, feeling the stability of the earth beneath you, solid and unmoving, allowing you to rest your weary mind against its metaphorical stone flank. Drifting down from the snowy heights, we float like a leaf on a gentle breeze, settling softly into the embrace of a Persian garden, a UNESCO-recognized masterpiece of design and spiritual philosophy known as the Baghi-Eram. Picture yourself walking through an arched gateway into a paradise of perfect symmetry, where the chaotic world is left behind for an ordered serenity. The Persian garden is designed to represent Eden on Earth, a sanctuary where water, flora and light dance in a carefully choreographed ballet. You're walking along a pathway paved with smooth, sun-warmed stones, flanked on either side by towering cypress trees that stand like silent guardians, their dark green needles contrasting with the vibrant blue of the sky. The air is humid and fragrant, heavy with the scent of orange blossoms and damp earth, a perfume that instantly slows your heart rate. In the centre of this garden flows a water channel, the lifeblood of the desert, guided by turquoise tiles that make the water appear deeper and cooler than it is. Listen to the sound, the gentle burble of a fountain, the soft lapping of water against the stone edge, a sound that has soothed emperors and poets for millennia. The water reflects the architecture of the pavilion at the end of the path, a mirror image shimmering on the surface, blurring the line between reality and reflection. As you run your hand through the cool water, you feel a connection to the ancient engineers who understood that water is not just a resource, but a source of peace. The geometry of the garden, with its 4 quadrants representing the 4 corners of the world, creates a sense of balance in your mind, organizing your thoughts into neat, quiet rows. Here, under the shade of a pomegranate tree, watching the sunlight filter through the leaves in dappled patterns of gold and green, you feel a profound sense of completeness. From the lush greenery of the garden, the scene dissolves, the colours fading into the pale moonlit beige of ancient stone as we find ourselves standing amidst the ruins of Persepolis. It is night here, and the great ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Empire is bathed in the silver glow of a full moon. Imagine the silence, not an empty silence, but a heavy, respectful quiet that hangs over the broken columns and the vast stone terraces. You're walking up the grand staircase, feeling the smooth, worn limestone under your feet, steps that were once trodden by envoys from 23 subject nations bearing gifts for the King of Kings. The scale of the ruins is humbling. The Gate of All Nations looms above you, flanked by massive lammasas, winged bulls with human heads that watch over the ghosts of the past with stony, impassive eyes. Run your fingers over the bas reliefs carved into the walls, the stone still holding the coolness of the night. These carvings are exquisitely detailed, depicting lotus flowers, lions attacking bulls, and rows of soldiers, their beards and curls rendered with a precision that defies the erosion of 2,500 years. There is a deep peace in this place of fallen glory, a reminder that all things change, yet beauty persists in the fragments. The moonlight casts long, dramatic shadows across the Apadana Palace, highlighting the intricate fluting of the remaining columns that stretch toward the stars like fingers seeking connection. You're alone here, the only witness to this silent majesty, free to wander through the hall of 100 columns, imagining the silk tapestries and the smell of incense that once filled this air. The history here is not a burden. It is a cradle, holding the story of humanity's ambition and artistry in a quiet, eternal embrace. The stone fades, and the air becomes softer, filled with the rustling of paper and the murmur of a lyrical voice as we transport ourselves to the city of Shiraz, to the tomb of the beloved poet Hafez. It is evening, and the sky is a deep bruising purple transitioning into the black of night. You're standing in a garden pavilion, surrounding an alabaster sarcophagus. But this is not a place of mourning. It is a place of celebration, of life, and of love. Hafez is the soul of Iran, a mystic whose divan, his collected poems, is found in almost every Iranian home, consulted for guidance and comfort like a trusted friend. Picture the locals gathering here, sitting on the grass, reciting verses that speak of wine, nightingales, and the divine beloved. Listen to the rhythm of the Persian language Farsi as it is spoken around you. It is soft, melodious, rising and falling like a gentle tune. Even if you do not understand the words, the emotion transcends language, wrapping you in a blanket of longing and fulfillment. Imagine opening a book of his poetry at random a tradition known as Fale Hafez, and reading a line that speaks directly to your heart, offering wisdom that feels timeless and personal. The scent of roses is overpowering here, for Shiraz is the city of flowers and the night air is thick with their sweetness. You feel a connection to the seekers of truth who have stood in this very spot for centuries, finding solace in the idea that life is a mystery to be embraced, not a problem to be solved. The poetry flows through you, loosening the grip of logic, inviting you to float on the stream of metaphor and feeling. The scene shifts now, the purple of the twilight deepening and transforming into the vibrant violet of a vast field at dawn. We are in the Khorasan province, witnessing the harvest of saffron, the red gold of Iran. Picture a landscape stretching to the horizon, covered in a carpet of delicate purple crocus flowers, their petals opening slowly to greet the rising sun. It is early morning, the air is cold and brisk, and the world is painted in hues of lavender and amber. You're walking through the rows of flowers, careful not to crush the delicate blooms. This is a labour of love, a process that requires infinite patience and gentleness, as the precious red stigmas must be plucked by hand before the sun becomes too hot. Visualise the colour red, a deep, vivid crimson, nestled in the heart of the purple petals. It takes over 150,000 flowers to produce just 1 kilogram of this spice, making it a symbol of value and rarity. Imagine the smell. It is distinct, hay-like, metallic, and sweet. A fragrance that is both earthy and luxurious. As you watch the harvesters moving with rhythmic precision, their hands stained with the pollen, you feel a deep appreciation for the slow, deliberate pace of nature. Nothing here is rushed. The saffron drying on sieves in the sun glows like embers, possessing a warmth that seems to radiate from within. This spice will travel across the world to colour rice and tea, bringing a taste of the Iranian sun to distant lands. But here, at the source, it is simply a beautiful, quiet miracle of the earth, grounding you in the simplicity of the harvest. The crimson red fades into a striking celestial blue as we journey to the ancient mines of Nishapur, the oldest turquoise mines in the world. For thousands of years, this land has yielded the Persian blue, a stone that mirrors the colour of the heavens. Imagine yourself deep within the cool, dim tunnels of the earth, where the air smells of damp stone and minerals. The walls of the mine are not dark, but veined with streaks of intense robin's egg blue, glowing softly in the lantern light. This stone, known as Firosa in Farsi, is believed to be a talisman of protection, a stone that brings victory and wards off the evil eye. Hold a piece of rough turquoise in your hand. Feel its smoothness, its cool temperature, its solid weight. The colour is mesmerising, a blend of green and blue that reminds you of a tropical lagoon or the sky at noon trapped within a rock. It is a colour that soothes the eyes and the mind, a visual lullaby. In the bazaars you see this stone set into silver rings and intricate jewellery, but here in the earth it is raw and potent. The miners work with a quiet respect for the stone, chipping away the grey rock to reveal the hidden beauty within, a metaphor for the inner work of the soul. You feel a sense of stability here, surrounded by the geology of the earth, protected by the layers of rock above you, hidden away in a secret chamber of beauty that has been cherished by kings and nomads alike. We emerge from the earth into the vast open silence of the desert, the Dashti Kavir or the Dashti Lut. The landscape here is surreal, a canvas of salt flats and sand dunes that stretches infinitely in all directions. It is night again, and the desert is cooling rapidly, the heat of the day radiating back into the atmosphere, leaving the sand cool to the touch. Picture yourself lying on the soft, shifting slope of a sand dune, looking up at a sky that is more star than blackness. Without the light pollution of cities, the Milky Way is a thick, bright band of diamond dust splashed across the cosmos, so close you feel you could reach up and stir it with your finger. The silence here is absolute. There is no rustle of leaves, no flowing water, No animal calls, just a profound ringing stillness that expands your consciousness. You're a small speck in a vast universe, and yet you feel entirely connected to it. The wind sculpts the dunes into soft undulating waves, patterns that change with every breeze, teaching the lesson of impermanence and flexibility. The salt crystals on the ground glint in the starlight like scattered jewels. You feel the dry desert air on your skin, purifying and clean. This is a place of solitude, where the mind can unclutter itself, shedding thoughts like the desert sheds heat, leaving only a cool, clear clarity. The vastness is not lonely. It is spacious, giving you room to breathe, room to be, room to dream. From the natural architecture of the dunes, we drift to the man-made splendour of Isfahan, to the Naqshi Jahan Square, which translates to pattern of the world. It is one of the largest public squares on the planet, but at this hour it is peaceful. Visualize the immense open space bordered by two-story arcades, the rhythmic arches creating a hypnotic pattern. But your eyes are drawn irresistibly to the Shah Mosque, a masterpiece of Safavid architecture covered in millions of seven-coloured tiles. The dominant colour is blue, Persian blue, azure, turquoise, cobalt, creating the illusion that the mosque is melting into the sky. Walk closer to the entrance portal, the E1, and look up at the muqaranas, the honeycomb-like stalactites that adorn the ceiling. They are a dizzying fractal of geometric beauty, designed to guide the eye toward the divine. The craftsmanship is so intricate, so perfect, that it feels like a prayer frozen in clay and glaze. In the centre of the square lies a vast pool, and in the stillness of the evening the water is a perfect mirror, reflecting the lit arches and the blue dome, doubling the beauty. You can hear the faint echo of footsteps on the stone pavement, a lonely, comforting sound. Isfahan is called half the world, implying that to see it is to see half of all the beauty existence has to offer. Standing here, bathed in the soft glow of the lamps, surrounded by such harmonious proportions, you feel a deep sense of order and aesthetic satisfaction, a feeling that the world is right and beautiful. The intricate patterns of the tiles transition seamlessly into the soft woven textures of a Persian carpet. We move from the grand square to a quiet, dimly lit workshop where a loom stands tall against the wall. This is the heart of Iranian artistry, where stories are woven knot by knot into wool and silk. Imagine sitting before the loom, watching the weaver's hands move with a blur of speed and grace, tying knots with a rhythm that sounds like a heartbeat. Thump, thump, snip, thump, thump, snip. It is a meditative sound, a mantra of creation. The carpet is a garden for the floor, filled with motifs of flowers, birds, and geometric medallions that represent the universe. Feel the texture of the wool, rich, oily, and soft, dyed with natural ingredients: pomegranate skin for red, walnut husks for brown, indigo for blue. Each carpet takes months, sometimes years, to complete, a testament to the power of patience and steady progress. As you run your hand over the finished pile, you can feel the density of the knots, the warmth of the material. There is a flaw intentionally woven into the pattern, for only God is perfect, and this humility adds to the charm. You imagine this carpet in a home, a soft island for family to gather upon, a portable piece of paradise that softens the hard ground. The colours are warm and inviting, wrapping you in a visual embrace that feels like home, no matter where you are. Finally, the woven threads dissolve into the flow of air as we travel to the desert city of Yazd to gaze upon the wind catchers, or badgirs. These are the ancient air conditioners of the desert, tall, chimney-like structures rising from the mud brick roofs, catching the slightest breeze and funneling it down into the homes below. Picture the skyline of Yazd, a sea of brown adobe domes and these majestic towers standing against the harsh sun. But you're not in the sun. You're inside a traditional house, sitting in the summer room, feeling a cool, refreshing draft of air brushing against your cheek. It is a marvel of engineering, achieved without electricity, using only the laws of nature and the wisdom of the wind. The air is cooled as it passes over a pool of water in the basement, circulating through the house like a gentle ghost. Listen to the wind whistling softly through the vents of the badger, a low, mournful yet soothing song. It is the sound of the desert being tamed, of heat being transformed into comfort. The walls of the house are thick clay, insulating you from the outside world, creating a silent, cool sanctuary. You feel a deep appreciation for this harmony with the elements, the ability to find comfort in the harshest of environments. The breeze carries the dust of the desert, but also the coolness of the shade, a physical sensation of relief that washes over your entire body, signaling that it is time to rest, time to cool down, time to sleep. The cooling breeze from the badgers slowly settles, the air turning still and hushed as the seasons shift within the theatre of your mind, guiding us gently from the heat of the day into the sacred embrace of the longest night of the year. We have arrived at Shabby Yalda, the winter solstice, a celebration of light triumphing over darkness that has been observed for thousands of years. Imagine yourself in a cozy, dimly lit room, the cold winter pressing against the window panes, unable to breach the warmth of the sanctuary you're in. The air inside is thick with the scent of dried fruits and the soft, flickering glow of candles that dance on the walls like silent spirits. You're seated on a plush carpet surrounded by loved ones whose voices are low and murmuring, a comforting hum of human connection that requires no words to be felt. In the centre of the gathering sits a low table, the corsi, covered with a heavy, heated blanket that traps warmth beneath it. You slide your legs under the quilt, feeling the radiant heat seep into your bones, melting away the chill of the winter solstice. On the table lies a bowl of ruby-red pomegranates, the crown jewel of Yalda. Visualize breaking open the leathery crimson skin, revealing the hundreds of jewel-like seeds, or arils, nestled in their honeycomb of white pith. As you place a few seeds on your tongue, there is a burst of tart, sweet juice, a vibrant taste of life that defies the barren winter outside. The red of the fruit symbolizes the glow of life and the dawn that will surely come. Someone begins to read aloud from the Divan of Hafez, the words flowing like warm honey, predicting fortunes and offering wisdom. The night is long, yes, but it is not lonely. It is a vigil of hope, a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, we gather to celebrate the inevitable return of the sun, safe in the warmth of tradition and togetherness. From the cozy enclosed warmth of the winter room, our spirit lifts and travels north, crossing the formidable Alborz mountains to descend into a world of startling contrast, the Hyrcanian forests along the southern shores of the Caspian Sea. The arid beige of the plateau is left behind, replaced by a lush, prehistoric verdure that feels like the breath of the earth itself. These forests are ancient survivors of the Ice Age, a living museum of towering oaks, maples and ironwood trees that form a dense, emerald canopy overhead. It is raining here, a soft, persistent drizzle that is characteristic of the region, creating a symphony of water-meeting leaves. Listen to the sound, the gentle patter on the broad leaves of the ferns, the dripping of moisture from the moss-covered branches, the muffled silence of the damp forest floor. The air is rich with oxygen and the scent of wet earth, fungi and decaying leaves, a smell that is primal and deeply grounding. You're walking along a path cushioned by centuries of fallen foliage, the ground soft and springy beneath your feet. A mist weaves through the tree trunks, softening the edges of the world, making the forest feel intimate and enclosed. To your north lies the Caspian Sea, the largest lake in the world, its waves rhythmically crashing against the pebbly shore, a grey-blue expanse that merges with the cloudy sky. The humidity here wraps around you like a heavy, comforting blanket, hydrating your skin and soothing your breath. This is the lungs of Iran, a place of abundant life and green stillness, where the sheer volume of nature's growth makes your own worries feel small and transient. dissolving into the mist of the ancient woods. The scent of rain and wet wood slowly transforms, sweetening, intensifying, until the air is filled with the intoxicating perfume of 1,000,000 blooming flowers. We have drifted to the city of Kashan in late spring, specifically to the rose fields of Kamsa, the capital of rosewater. Imagine standing in a vast field of Mohammadi roses, a specific variety of pink damask rose cultivated for centuries for its potent fragrance. It is dawn, the traditional time for the harvest, before the sun burns away the essential oils. The field is a sea of soft pink stretching toward the jagged mountains in the distance. The air is so thick with the scent of roses that you can almost taste it. Sweet, floral, and heady. A fragrance that has been proven to calm the nervous system and uplift the spirit. Watch as the harvesters gently pluck the flower heads, their hands moving with practiced tenderness. We follow the petals to the copper stills, where the ancient alchemy of distillation takes place. Steam rises from the pots, carrying the soul of the flower through cooling pipes until it condenses into the clear, miraculous liquid known as golab. The sound of the bubbling water and the rhythmic dripping of the distillate is hypnotic. This water is so pure it is used to wash the Kaaba in Mecca, yet here it is a simple gift of the earth. Imagine dipping your fingers into a bowl of fresh rosewater and dabbing it onto your pulse points, wrists, neck, temples. The cooling sensation is immediate, followed by the blooming of the scent, wrapping you in a cloud of serenity. It is a sensory experience of pure cleansing, washing away the dust of the world and leaving only the sweetness of the garden. The delicate silence of the rose fields is gradually replaced by a rhythmic, resonant beat, a sound that is both martial and musical. We find ourselves entering the Zurkhaneh, the House of Strength, a traditional gymnasium that is as much a spiritual temple as it is a place of exercise. The space is dimly lit, centered around a hexagonal sunken pit called the Goud. You're standing at the edge, looking down at the athletes who move in perfect unison, not to the blowing of a whistle, but to the beat of the zarb, a goblet drum played by the morsht, or guide, who sits on a high pedestal. The morsht recites epic poetry from the Shahnameh, tales of chivalry, humility, and heroism, his voice rising and falling with the rhythm of the drum. The atmosphere is heavy with respect and tradition. Watch as the men pick up the meals, heavy wooden clubs that look like large bowling pins. They swing them over their shoulders in fluid circular motions, a dance of weight and momentum that builds immense shoulder strength but looks effortless. The sound of the wood cutting through the air, the rhythmic stomping of feet, and the deep resonant drum beat create a trance-like state. This is not about vanity or competition. It is about cultivating inner strength, modesty, and brotherhood. The ceiling is often domed, amplifying the acoustics, so the poetry and the drum beat vibrate in your chest, aligning your own heartbeat with the ancient pulse of the ritual. It is a grounding masculine energy, strong yet controlled, reminding you that true power lies in discipline and the rhythmic flow of movement. The vigorous rhythm of the drum slows, fading into the gentle clink of glass and the bubbling of boiling water. We settle into the cushioned comfort of a traditional tea house, or shaykani, a cornerstone of Iranian social life. You're seated on a wooden bench covered with a Persian rug, resting your back against a bolster pillow. In the corner, a large brass samovar hisses softly, a sound of perpetual welcome, keeping the water at a rolling boil. The tea served here is a deep, translucent amber, poured into delicate hourglass-shaped glasses called istakan that allow you to admire the colour. Visualise the ritual, the steam rising in curling ribbons from the hot glass, carrying the earthy, astringent aroma of brewed black tea. Next to the glass is a saucer with nabat, a stick of saffron-infused rock candy. You stir the crystal stick into the tea, watching it dissolve, turning the dark liquid a shade lighter and adding a hint of golden sweetness. The glass is hot to the touch, warming your fingers, sending a wave of heat through your hands that travels up your arms. You do not rush this. You lift the glass, blow gently on the surface, and take a small sip. The taste is bold, hot, and sweet. A perfect balance. Around you, the murmur of quiet conversation creates a backdrop of social safety. This is a pause in the day, a moment to simply sit, sip, and watch the steam rise, letting the warmth of the tea spread through your chest, thawing any tension that remains. From the enclosed intimacy of the tea house, the walls dissolve into the vast open expanse of the Zagros Mountains. We are joining the timeless migration of the nomads, the Bakhtiari or the Qashqai, on their seasonal journey, the Kutch. The landscape here is rugged and majestic, with limestone crags reaching for the sky and deep valleys carved by rushing rivers. You're not walking alone. You're part of a moving river of life, flocks of sheep and goats, horses and families, all flowing together across the land in harmony with the seasons. The air is crisp and thin, filled with the sounds of the migration, the tinkling of heavy brass bells around the necks of the livestock, the bleating of sheep, the call of the shepherds echoing off the canyon walls. There is a profound sense of freedom here, a life unanchored to brick and mortar, guided only by the needs of the herd and the turning of the year. Imagine the dust kicking up in golden motes in the afternoon sun, the smell of wool and wild sage. At night, the tribe sets up black wool tents, woven from the hair of their own goats. You sit by a campfire under a canopy of stars that stretches from horizon to horizon, feeling the cool mountain air on your face while your front is warmed by the flames. The simple meal, the stories told by the fire, the connection to the land, it is a stripping away of the unnecessary, leaving only what is essential. You feel a kinship with these wanderers, a realization that home is not a place, but a state of being, portable and enduring, carried within the heart as you move through the landscape of your dreams. The wide open vistas of the mountains narrow and focus down to a single, precise point of black ink on white paper. We enter the quiet, meditative world of Persian calligraphy, specifically the fluid style known as Nastaliq, often called the bride of calligraphy scripts. You're in a quiet studio, the light filtering softly through a window, illuminating a bamboo pen, the kalam, resting in the hand of a master. The atmosphere is one of intense, breathless concentration. Listen to the sound of the pen moving across the glossy paper, a rhythmic scratching, a whisper of friction as the reed tip glides and turns. Watch the ink flow. It is not merely writing, it is drawing with words. The letters are not static, they stretch and curve, dipping and rising like birds in flight or branches swaying in the wind. The master dips the pen into the inkwell, the davat, which contains a silk tuft to regulate the amount of ink. With a confident, fluid motion, the pen touches the paper. A thick, bold stroke tapers into a hairline fracture, a perfect balance of negative and positive space. The words might be a verse from Rumi or a line of prayer, but their meaning is secondary to their form. The curves are soothing to the eye, following the golden ratio, creating a visual harmony that bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the soul's desire for beauty and order. As you watch the letters form, your own breathing slows to match the stroke of the pen. Inhale on the lift, exhale on the downstroke, finding peace in the perfect execution of a single curve. The glossy smoothness of the paper transitions into a tactile crunch, a texture that is dry and crisp. We drift to the sun-drenched orchards of Kerman and Rafsanjan, the pistachio capital of the world. It is late summer, and the desert heat has ripened the clusters of nuts hanging heavy on the trees. The leaves are a dusty green, rustling in the warm breeze, but the treasure lies within the clusters. The hulls are blushing with streaks of pink and purple, soft to the touch, protecting the hard beige shell underneath. Imagine standing in the shade of a pistachio tree, reaching up to pluck a nut. You peel away the soft outer hull, revealing the hard shell which has naturally split open, a phenomenon the Iranians call smiling. The sound of cracking the shell is a satisfying snap, a tiny release of tension. Inside lies the kernel, a vibrant gem-like green, contrasting with the purple skin. Pop it into your mouth. The taste is rich, buttery, and slightly piney, with a hint of salt if they have been roasted. The orchard is quiet, filled only with the sound of the wind and the occasional thud of nuts falling to the ground. There is an abundance here, a sense of the earth's generosity in the midst of the arid landscape. The repetitive action, crack, eat, becomes a soothing mantra, a mindless pleasure that grounds you in the sensation of taste and touch, connecting you to the simple, salty joys of the harvest. The dry heat of the orchard fades as evening falls, and we find ourselves transported to the banks of the Zayande Rud River in Isfahan, standing before the magnificent Siosepol, the Bridge of 33 Arches. It is night, and the river, in our dream, it flows full and deep, reflects the golden lights of the bridge, creating a shimmering ladder of light on the dark water. The bridge is not just a crossing, it is a destination, a long two-story structure of brick and stone that glows warmly against the indigo sky. Walk along the lower level of the bridge through the long vaulted corridors. The acoustics here are legendary. The stone arches amplify the sound of the flowing water and the voices of the people. It is a tradition for men to gather in the alcoves of the bridge at night to sing. Listen. A soulful, unaccompanied voice rises from the shadows, singing a traditional avaz. The melody is melancholic yet beautiful, echoing off the water and the brickwork, filling the night with longing and romance. The air is cool and damp near the river, a refreshing change from the city streets. You lean over the stone railing, watching the water rush through the arches, carrying away the debris of the day. The repetition of the 33 arches creates a visual rhythm that draws the eye into the distance, a perspective of infinity. Here, suspended between two banks, surrounded by the song of strangers and the flow of water, you feel a sense of connection to the flow of time itself, moving steadily, beautifully into the dark. From the cool, flowing river, we seek a deeper, more enveloping warmth. We drift northwest to the town of Sarain, at the foot of the Sabalan Mountains, famous for its natural thermal springs. Outside, the world may be covered in a blanket of pristine white snow, the air biting and cold, but you're stepping into a sanctuary of steam and heat. The hot springs here are rich in minerals, sulfur, calcium, lithium, drawn from deep within the volcanic earth. Imagine lowering yourself into the steaming pool. The water is hot, bordering on intense, but as your body adjusts, a wave of profound relaxation washes over you. Your muscles, tight from the journey, uncoil and soften in the buoyant heat. The steam rises in thick, swirling clouds, obscuring the edges of the pool, creating a private, dreamlike space. Through the mist, you can see the snow-capped peaks in the distance, a beautiful contradiction of fire and ice. The smell of the minerals is faint and earthy, a scent of healing. You float effortlessly, the water supporting your weight completely, relieving the burden of gravity. The heat penetrates deep into your joints, quieting the nervous system, slowing your pulse. You're held by the earth's own warmth, suspended in a liquid cradle, while the cold world outside feels a million miles away. There is nothing to do but soak, to let the minerals seep into your skin, to let the heat dissolve the boundary between you and the water, until you are simply a part of the steam, rising, drifting, disappearing into the peaceful white silence. The steam from the thermal springs rises, becoming one with the clouds, lifting us gently from the warm embrace of the water up into the thin, crystalline air of the high altitudes. We find ourselves drifting toward the Alborz mountain range, just north of Tehran, to experience the silent ascent of the Tuchel cabin. Imagine stepping into a small enclosed cabin, a glass bubble suspended on a sturdy cable that stretches upward into the white abyss. As the machinery engages, there is a gentle lurch, a comforting sway, and then the smooth, steady sensation of rising. You're leaving the sprawling city far below, its noise and frenetic energy fading into a grey haze, replaced by the pristine silence of the snow. The ride is long, one of the longest in the world, giving you ample time to detach from the earth. Watch through the scratched glass as the landscape transforms. The brown foothills give way to rocks dusted with frost, and finally to deep, rolling blankets of pure white snow. The only sound is the wind whistling softly against the cabin and the rhythmic clack-clack of the cable passing over the pylons, a metronome of the mountains. You're floating between the earth and the sky, suspended in a white void where distance becomes impossible to judge. The air outside is freezing, but you're sheltered, watching the skiers below look like tiny ants carving paths through the powder. The higher you go, the deeper the quiet becomes, a heavy velvet silence that presses against your ears. At the summit, the air is thin and piercingly clean, filling your lungs with a cold fire that wakes up every cell in your body. Yet the overwhelming sensation is one of peace, of being above the fray, looking down on the world with the detached calm of a cloud. We descend from the silent peaks, drifting down through the layers of the atmosphere, sinking softly into the labyrinthine heart of the earth, entering the cavernous shelter of the Grand Bazaar. Whether in Tehran or the massive brick complex of Tabriz, the feeling is the same. You're entering a city within a city, a covered world of vaulted ceilings and brick arches that has protected merchants and travellers for a millennium. The light here is different. It filters down in dusty solid beams through small octagonal windows in the high domes, illuminating the floating motes of dust like dancing gold. The air is cool and still, insulated by thick walls from the changing seasons outside. Close your eyes and let the scentscape guide you. It is a rich, complex perfume of history. The dry, woody smell of stacked carpets, the sharp tang of leather from the shoemakers, the metallic scent of copper being hammered, and above all the warm, dizzying aroma of the spice lanes. Mounds of turmeric, cinnamon, dried limes and saffron sit in open sacks, releasing their essence into the heavy air. The sound is a low, continuous hum, a river of voices and footsteps that echoes softly under the arches, never becoming a shout, just a comforting vibration of human presence. You wander aimlessly through the endless corridors known as timchis, feeling the cobblestones beneath your feet. There is no need to buy, only to be. The bazaar is a sensory womb, a place of shadow and light, texture and smell, where the modern world feels miles away, and you are wrapped in the timeless rhythm of trade and exchange. The aroma of spices leads us deeper into the culinary soul of the home, inviting us to sit at a table set for a slow, cherished meal. We are about to taste fesenyan, the dark, rich stew that is the crown jewel of Persian winter cuisine. Visualize the pot sitting on a low flame, simmering for hours, the contents transforming into a thick, glossy substance that looks like molten dark chocolate. This dish is a lesson in patience and the delicate balance of opposites. It is made from ground walnuts, toasted until their oils are released, and pomegranate molasses, a thick tart syrup reduction. Imagine the taste as you take a spoonful. It is not savoury in the Western sense, nor is it a dessert. It is a profound, earthy richness from the walnuts, creamy and heavy, cut through by the sharp, acidic tang of the pomegranate. It is sweet and sour, dark and heavy, a flavour that coats your mouth and warms your chest. The chicken or duck within the stew has been cooked so long it falls apart at the mere suggestion of a fork, absorbing the dark sauce until it is one with it. Served over a mound of steaming white saffron rice, the contrast of colours, the stark white and the deep, almost black brown, is striking. Eating fesenjan is a comforting, heavy experience. It is food that grounds you, making your eyelids heavy, signalling to your body that it is time to hibernate, to digest, to rest in the warmth of a full belly while the wind howls outside. From the dark richness of the stew, our spirit travels to the dry central desert, to the outskirts of the ancient city of Yazd, where two hills rise from the flat earth, crowned with circular walls. These are the Towers of Silence, or Dakhma. For thousands of years, the Zoroastrians brought their dead here to be exposed to the elements and the birds, a final act of charity to nature and a way to avoid polluting the sacred earth with a body. It is quiet here, a silence that is older than history. The towers are made of the same adobe clay as the desert floor, blending perfectly into the beige landscape as if they grew from the ground. Walk up the ramp to the top of the tower. There is no roof, only the open, vast dome of the desert sky, an uninterrupted blue expanse that feels infinite. The wind blows constantly here, a dry whistling breeze that carries away the dust and the memories. There is no sadness in this place, only a profound acceptance of the cycle of life. The walls create a secluded, sacred space, cut off from the horizon, forcing your gaze upward toward the heavens. You can feel the heat radiating off the sun-baked bricks, a dry, clean heat. Standing in the center of the circle, you feel a sense of liberation, a detachment from the physical form. It is a place that teaches you that we are borrowed from the earth and the sky, and to them we eventually return. The peace here is absolute, stripped of all decoration, leaving only the wind, the sun, and the quiet dignity of the end. The vast open scope of the sky narrows, zooming in, focusing down until the entire world is contained within a rectangle no larger than a book. We enter the intricate, jewel-like world of Persian miniature painting. Imagine yourself bending over a piece of camel bone or polished paper, holding a brush so fine it seems to end in a single hair. This art form is not about realism, it is about idealism, depicting a world as it exists in the divine imagination, a garden of eternal spring where the light casts no shadows, because everything is illuminated by an inner grace. Let your eyes trace the impossible details. The colours are ground from precious minerals, lapis lazuli for the deep hypnotic blue, malachite for the verdant green, gold leaf for the sky. They are vivid, flat and unmodulated, creating a visual rhythm that sparkles like a stained glass window. Look at the figures, the lovers hiding in a pavilion, the hunters on horseback, the animals peeking from behind rocks. Every leaf on every tree is painted individually, a meditation in patience. There is no perspective in the Western sense. Objects that are further away are simply placed higher up, allowing you to see everything at once, a God's eye view of the scene. The level of focus required to create this is hypnotic in itself. As you explore the painting, you lose track of your own size, shrinking down to wander through these two-dimensional palaces, smelling the painted flowers, wearing the painted silks, lost in a perfect tiny universe of colour and line. We sink down from the surface of the painted page, through the soil, deep into the cool, dark veins of the earth. We're entering a qanat, the ancient underground aqueduct system that has allowed life to flourish in the desert for 3 millennia. Imagine walking into a tunnel carved by hand, dozens of meters below the surface. The air here is instantly different, cool, damp and heavy, a relief from the blistering sun above. You're in the dark, guided only by the faint light of the shaft openings far overhead, which look like distant stars. Listen. The sound is the gentle musical trickling of water. It is a clear, cold stream flowing steadily through the darkness, travelling miles from the aquifer in the mountains to the thirsty farms and cities of the plains. This water is life, and the tunnel is its vein. Run your hand along the walls. They are raw earth and stone, reinforced with oval ceramic rings, smelling of wet clay and minerals. The engineering is precise, the slope calculated perfectly to keep the water moving without eroding the tunnel. Walking here, you feel protected, hidden in the womb of the earth. The darkness is not scary, it is preservative. The sound of the water is a constant soothing lullaby, a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, there is a hidden flow of sustenance, a secret river that keeps moving, keeps giving, quietly and unseen in the deep. We emerge from the underground tunnel, blinking in the soft, diffused light, to find ourselves clinging to the side of a misty mountain in the north, in the stepped village of Masule. The architecture here defies gravity and convention. The village is built into a steep slope, so steep that the roof of the house below forms the courtyard and street for the house above. You're walking on a pathway that is also a neighbour's ceiling, a beautiful weaving of private and public life. The houses are coated in a yellow clay that glows warmly even in the fog, contrasting with the lush green forest that surrounds the village. It is almost always misty here. The clouds descend from the mountain peaks, wrapping the village in a soft white gauze that muffles sound and softens the edges of the buildings. You breathe in the moist, cool air, smelling wood smoke from the chimneys and the scent of wild geraniums that grow in pots on the wooden balconies. The windows are intricate latticework, glowing with amber light as evening falls. Because no cars are allowed, they simply cannot fit. The air is free of engine noise. There is only the sound of voices, the braying of a donkey, and the distant rush of a waterfall. At night, when the lights of the houses turn on, the village looks like a swarm of fireflies resting on the mountain, a vertical constellation. It is a place of community and interconnection, where every step you take is supported by the home of another, a comforting lattice of human reliance. The cool mist of the mountains crystallizes into something sweeter, colder, and more delightful. We are handed a bowl of bastani sonati, the traditional Persian saffron ice cream. This is not just a dessert, it is a frozen perfume. Imagine the texture, thick, elastic and chewy, made rich with heavy cream and salep, an orchid root flower that gives it a unique stretch. The colour is a pale, creamy yellow, speckled with green pistachios. But the secret lies in the frozen shards of heavy cream, sheets of frozen delight that melt slowly on your tongue. Take a bite. The first sensation is the shock of the cold, followed immediately by the blooming warmth of the saffron, an earthy, floral sweetness that fills your nose. Then comes the rosewater, a fragrant wave that makes the ice cream taste like a garden in bloom. The crunch of the pistachio adds a nutty counterpoint to the smoothness. It is often served sandwiched between two thin, crisp wafers, making a sandwich that shatters and melts in your mouth. This flavour profile is ancient, a taste that Persian kings enjoyed in summer palaces, the ice brought down from the mountains and stored in great conical ice houses. Eating it is a slow, sensory exploration of textures and temperatures, a sweet, cold lullaby that cools the throat and sweetens the breath, leaving a lingering taste of flowers and gold. The sweetness fades, and the ground beneath us becomes solid, ancient, and massive. We stand before the ziggurat of Choga Zanbil, a lonely giant rising from the plains of Khuzestan. This is one of the few existing ziggurats outside of Mesopotamia, a massive stepped pyramid built by the Elamites over 3,000 years ago. It is sunset, and the millions of baked bricks are glowing deep orange and red, absorbing the dying light of the day. The structure is a series of concentric squares, rising up like a wedding cake made of earth, designed to bring the priest-kings closer to the god in Shushanak. Walk around the base. The scale is humbling. You run your hand over the bricks, some of which still bear cuneiform inscriptions, the world's first writing stamping the name of the king into eternity. It is a message from the deep past, a voice in the clay. The structure feels heavy, anchored to the earth with an immovable weight. The shadows lengthen, stretching across the flat plains, and the silence is absolute. There are no tourists here, no noise, just the wind blowing through the reeds of the nearby river and the silent mass of the temple. You feel the age of the place, a deep, resonant vibration of time. It was once a centre of pilgrimage, a busy holy city. Now it is a monument to silence and the endurance of human faith. Standing in its shadow, you feel small but connected to the long, long chain of history. a witness to the persistence of memory in baked clay. From the complex grandeur of the ziggurat, we drift to a place of profound simplicity. We are on the Pasargadi plain, standing before the tomb of Cyrus the Great. The landscape is vast and empty, a wide, flat bowl surrounded by distant purple mountains. In the centre stands a simple limestone structure, a small gabled house perched atop 6-tiered steps. There are no grand carvings, no gold, no towering statues. It is shocking in its modesty. This is the resting place of the King of Kings, the man who founded the First World Empire and wrote the first Charter of Human Rights. The wind blows freely across the plain, whistling through the cracks in the ancient white stone. The sun bleaches the stone to a bone-white brilliance against the blue sky. You walk up to the base of the tomb. The steps are high and steep, forcing you to climb slowly, respectfully. Alexander the Great stood here. Kings and conquerors have stood here, humbled by the simplicity. The inscription, now lost, once read, "O man, whoever you are and wherever you come from, for I know you will come, I am Cyrus who won the Persians their empire. Do not therefore envy me this little earth that covers my body." You feel a deep sense of peace here, a realization that true greatness does not need to shout. The emptiness of the plain amplifies the presence of the tomb. It is a solitary anchor in the stream of time, a place to rest your mind on the concept of noble leadership and the quiet, final dignity of a life well lived. The wind that whispers across the white stone of Cyrus's tomb gathers strength as it sweeps eastward, transforming into a consistent, powerful breath known as the 120-day wind. It carries us to the ancient village of Nashtifan, where we witness a marvel of engineering that has stood against the gale for 1,000 years, the vertical windmills, or asbads. Imagine standing before these towering structures made of clay, straw and wood. They do not look like the windmills of the West with their spinning sails. Rather, they resemble open vertical slots housing wooden blades that turn on an upright axis. Listen to the sound they make, a deep rhythmic creaking of timber against timber, a groan of wood that feels alive and weary yet unyielding. Creak, whoosh, creak, whoosh. It is the sound of the wind being tamed, its wild energy harvested to grind grain into flour. The air here is filled with the dust of the desert, but the motion of the windmills is hypnotic, a perpetual cycle that connects the invisible force of the air to the solid sustenance of the earth. You feel the vibration of the turning axle in the ground beneath your feet, a low thrum that resonates in your chest. These structures were built without a single nail, held together by gravity and friction, and watching them turn is a meditation on resilience, the ability to take the harsh forces of life and turn them into something productive, something nourishing. The wind blows, the wood turns, and time itself seems to spin in a slow, endless circle, grinding down the worries of the mind into a fine, soft powder. The wind continues its journey, carrying us deep into the heart of the Lut Desert to a landscape that defies earthly logic, the Calots of Shaddad. These are not buildings made by hands, but vast, city-like structures carved from the sand and rock by the wind and water over millions of years. Imagine walking through this city of ghosts at twilight. The formations rise from the flat desert floor like the ruins of a forgotten metropolis. Towers, castles, ridges and sphinxes, all sculpted from the hardened sand. The silence here is thicker than anywhere else on Earth. It is a silence that swallows sound, leaving you in a vacuum of perfect peace. The setting sun paints the Calots in shades of burning orange, deep violet, and bruised purple. As you wander through the corridors of these natural skyscrapers, you feel like an ant navigating a maze of giants. The ground is baked hard, radiating the day's heat back up through the soles of your shoes, a comforting warmth in the cooling air. There is no vegetation, no water, no life, only the sculpture of the earth itself. It is a place of absolute solitude, where the clutter of the visual world is stripped away, leaving only form and shadow. As the stars begin to emerge, they do not just appear, They seem to descend, hanging just above the jagged silhouettes of the sandcastles. You find a smooth ridge to sit upon, watching the shadows lengthen and merge, feeling the immense age of the geology, a reminder that nature is the greatest artist, working with the slow, patient chisel of time. From the shifting sands, we seek the permanence of solid rock. We drift northwest to the village of Kandavan, where the homes are not built on the earth, but carved into it. Picture a cluster of volcanic rock formations, shaped like giant termite mounds or conical beehives, rising from the green valley floor. These are the solidified remains of ancient volcanic ash, and for 700 years, people have hollowed them out to create sanctuaries. Step inside one of these cave dwellings. The transition is immediate and soothing. You leave the bright, sharp sunlight and enter a space of cool, dim serenity. The walls are thick stone, naturally insulating, keeping the interior refreshing in summer and warm in winter. Run your hand over the walls. The rock is rough and cool, a tactile connection to the mountain. The rooms are rounded, organic, lacking the harsh corners of modern architecture. There is a scent of wool rugs and herbal tea, a smell of ancient domesticity. The light enters through deep-set windows, creating soft pools of illumination that make the rock glow with a honeyed hue. You feel safe here, embraced by the stone, protected from the elements by the very earth itself. It is a return to the womb, a primal shelter that quiets the instinctual need for safety. You sit on a cushion in the niche of a stone wall, looking out at the valley, feeling the stability of the mountain seeping into your spine, grounding you, holding you still. The morning light filtering through the stone windows shifts, becoming a kaleidoscope of brilliant colour as we transport ourselves to the Nasir al-Mulk Mosque in Shiraz, often called the Pink Mosque. It is early morning, the only time to witness the magic. You're standing on a Persian carpet inside the prayer hall, and the sun is rising, striking the stained glass windows. Suddenly the floor is no longer a carpet, it is a pool of liquid colour. Beams of intense red, azure, yellow and emerald green slant across the room, painting the columns, the walls, and your own skin in a wash of light. It feels as if you are standing inside a diamond. The patterns on the floor shift slowly as the sun climbs, a living, moving artwork of light. The air is still and sacred, dust motes dancing in the coloured beams like tiny fairies. The scent of the mosque is faint, old paper, stone, and the subtle fragrance of rosewater used to clean the floors. You sit in a beam of blue light, feeling its coolness, then move your hand into a beam of red, imagining the warmth. The architectural details, the pink tiles with their floral motifs, soften the religious austerity, making the space feel like a garden in bloom. It is a visual feast that overwhelms the senses in the most gentle way, washing away the grey of the mundane world and replacing it with the full spectrum of joy and spiritual awakening. The sensory feast of colour leads to a craving for a simpler, warmer comfort. We follow the scent of baking bread, earthy, yeasty, and toasted, to a traditional bakery to witness the making of sangak. Imagine a long, dark oven, the floor of which is covered in a bed of hot, smooth river pebbles. The baker, moving with a rhythmic dance, spreads the whole wheat sourdough batter onto a wooden paddle and slides it into the fiery mouth of the oven, laying the dough directly onto the hot stones. Watch as the bread bubbles and rises, turning golden brown, absorbing the heat of the rocks. When it's pulled out, a few pebbles are still clinging to the back of the flatbread. The baker taps the bread against the wall, and the stones fall away with a clattering sound, clack, 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 leaving behind their signature dimples. You're handed a piece of this bread, hot enough to burn your fingers slightly, a good, waking pain. The texture is incredible, crisp on the outside, soft and chewy on the inside, with the occasional crunchy bit of charred crust. It smells of fire and grain, the most fundamental scent of human survival. You tear off a piece and eat it plain. The flavour is nutty, slightly sour from the fermentation, and smoky. It warms you from the inside out, a simple, ancient nourishment that connects you to millions of others who have broken bread in this way, finding comfort in the heat of the hearth. As the warmth of the bread settles in your stomach, a quiet melody begins to thread through the air, drawing us into a private, introspective space. We are listening to the sound of the sitar, a traditional Persian lute with a long, slender neck and a pear-shaped wooden bowl. It is an intimate instrument, often called the instrument of the soul, designed not for concert halls, but for solitude and meditation. Imagine sitting in a quiet room with a master player. He does not use a pick. He uses the nail of his index finger to strike the 4 strings. The sound is delicate, a metallic yet warm resonance that seems to vibrate the very air around you. Pluck, strum, drone. The music is modal, wandering through scales that sound melancholic and yearning to the Western ear, yet deeply resolving. The drone string provides a constant grounding hum, while the melody string weaves a story of longing and return. You close your eyes and let the music unravel the knots in your mind. It is a sound that speaks of the desert wind, of lost loves, of the search for the divine. The vibration is subtle, requiring you to lean in, to quiet your own breathing to hear the ghost notes. It is a musical whisper, gently guiding your brainwaves into a slower, deeper rhythm, turning your focus inward to the vast landscape of your own emotions. The music fades into a crackling sound, accompanied by a mystical, acrid smoke that fills the room with a sense of protection. We are witnessing the ritual of burning espand, wild rue seeds. This is a practice as old as Zoroastrianism, performed to ward off the evil eye and cleanse the energy of a space. Picture a small charcoal brazier glowing orange. A handful of small brown seeds is thrown onto the coals. Immediately they begin to pop and snap, pop, pop, crackle, like tiny fireworks. A thick white smoke rises, curling into the air in heavy grey ribbons. The scent is unmistakable, herbal, woody, slightly bitter, and deeply nostalgic for anyone who knows this land. It smells like history, like a grandmother's prayer. The smoke is waved over your head, around your body into the corners of the room. It creates a haze that catches the light, softening the sharp edges of reality. You breathe in the scent, and it feels purifying, as if the smoke is scrubbing the air of negativity, anxiety, and heaviness. The popping sound is satisfying, a rhythmic snapping that breaks the silence and announces a clearing. You feel a psychological shift, a sense of a boundary being set, creating a safe, sacred circle around you where nothing harmful can enter, leaving you held in a cloud of protective, aromatic warmth. From the smoky haze, we emerge into the open air to witness a natural wonder of water and colour. The terraces of Badabi Surt. Imagine standing on a mountainside in the north, looking down at a series of stepped travertine terraces formed over thousands of years by mineral springs. But these are not ordinary pools. They are painted in shocking hues of orange, red and yellow, caused by the high concentration of iron oxide in the water. The sun reflects off the surface of the pools, turning them into mirrors of liquid fire and gold. You step carefully to the edge of a pool. The water is highly saline and carbonated. If you were to dip your hand in, you would feel the gentle fizz of the water against your skin, a mineral effervescence. The rim of the pool is made of rock that looks like flowing curtains frozen in time. The contrast between the bright orange water and the surrounding green forests and blue sky is surreal, like a painting by a master impressionist. It is quiet here, save for the gentle trickle of water spilling from one terrace to the next, a slow, eternal descent. The water is heavy with salt and the air smells metallic and clean. You watch the reflection of the clouds drifting across the orange surface, feeling a sense of wonder at the artistic palette of the earth, a reminder that nature creates beauty simply for the sake of beauty. We leave the colourful springs and travel to the edge of the desert to stand in the shade of a living legend, the cypress of Abaku. This is not just a tree, it is a sentinel of time, estimated to be 4,500 years old. Imagine standing at the base of this colossal being. Its trunk is massive, deeply furrowed and twisted like a rope of muscle, scarred by the passage of millennia. Look up. The canopy is a dense, dark green umbrella that blocks out the fierce desert sun, creating a permanent circle of cool shade beneath it. This tree was a sapling when the pyramids were being built. It was mature when Cyrus the Great marched his armies past it. It has stood silent witness to the rise and fall of empires, the changing of religions, the shifting of borders. Place your hand on the rough bark. You are touching living history. There is a slow, deep pulse of life here, a sap that flows with the rhythm of the centuries, not the seconds. The scent is resinous and piney, a smell of endurance. Birds nest in its high branches, their calls echoing in the stillness. Standing next to something so ancient, your own timeline feels pleasantly insignificant. Your worries about tomorrow dissolve in the presence of a being that thinks in millenniums. It anchors you to the earth, offering the wisdom of stability and the promise that life, against all odds, persists. Finally, we move from the singular solid tree into a realm where solidity dissolves into a million fragments of light. The Hall of Mirrors, or Talare Ayene, found in palaces like the Golistan. Imagine walking through a heavy wooden door into a room where every inch of the walls and ceiling is covered in small cut pieces of mirror. The effect is disorienting and transcendent. The light from the chandeliers is caught and shattered into a galaxy of stars. You look for your reflection, but you cannot find a single solid image of yourself. Instead, you are fractured into thousands of tiny facets, blending with the reflections of the carpets, the windows, and the light. This is the architectural embodiment of a Sufi concept, the shattering of the ego to become one with the divine light. The room glitters like the inside of a geode. As you move, the room moves with you, a fluid, sparkling dance of silver and light. It is impossibly bright, yet not harsh. The light is diffused, bouncing endlessly from shard to shard. You feel weightless here, as if you are floating inside a prism. The boundaries of the room are lost in the shimmer. Up becomes down, near becomes far. It is a visual lullaby that tires the analytical mind, forcing it to surrender to the sheer, overwhelming beauty of the light. You close your eyes, and the glittering afterimage remains, a starry sky behind your eyelids, carrying you softly into the realm of dreams. The glittering fragments of light in the Hall of Mirrors slowly cease their dancing, settling into a soft, uniform glow that fades from silver to the warm, earthen beige of sun-baked brick. We drift away from the royal palaces, floating over the agricultural plains near Isfahan, to witness a marvel of humble, organic architecture, the Pigeon Towers, or Kabuta Kane. From the outside, these structures rise like massive cylindrical fortresses against the flat horizon, their intricate brickwork creating patterns that play with light and shadow. But let us drift inside, through a small, low entrance, into the cool, cavernous interior. The air here is still and smells faintly of dry straw and earth, a scent of rural safety. Visualize the walls surrounding you. They are not flat, but a mesmerizing honeycomb of thousands of small recessed niches, each one a perfect home for a single bird. The geometry is dizzying in its repetition and order, a fractal of mud brick that spirals upward toward the open skylight in the domed roof. It is a cathedral built for birds. In the silence of your imagination, you can hear the soft, echoing coos of thousands of pigeons, a low, throbbing murmur that sounds like the heartbeat of the building itself. The sound is incredibly soothing, a natural white noise that wraps around you, insulating you from the silence of the outside world. These towers were built not for meat, but to collect fertilizer for the melon fields, a symbiotic relationship between man and nature. Standing in the center of this vast, hollow silo, looking up at the shaft of light piercing the darkness, you feel a sense of protection and enclosure, as if you were safe inside a giant earthen hive, resting in one of the thousands of quiet niches tucked away from the wind. The earthy scent of the brick towers slowly transforms, becoming richer, savoury and mouth-watering, leading us to a table set with the national comfort food of Iran, cello kebab. Imagine sitting in a traditional restaurant where a fountain bubbles gently in the centre of the room. A plate is placed before you, steaming hot. It is a mound of fluffy, long-grain basmati rice, white as snow, capped with a golden square of butter that is slowly melting, running in yellow rivulets down the sides of the rice mountain. Next to it lies the kebab, skewers of ground lamb or beef, grilled to perfection over charcoal. You can smell the smoke, a primal woody aroma that triggers a deep sense of hunger and satisfaction. But the ritual is what matters here. You take a shaker of sumac, a deep red spice made from dried berries, and dust it generously over the meat and rice. The sumac adds a tart, lemony zest that cuts through the richness of the fat. Visualize the act of mixing the melting butter, the white rice, the dark meat, and the crimson sumac together. The steam rises, warming your face. You take a bite, and the flavours explode. The smoky char of the meat, the buttery softness of the rice, the sharp tang of the sumac. It is a heavy, grounding meal, royal food that makes the body feel heavy and the eyelids droop. Served with a grilled tomato that bursts with sweet juice and a side of fresh basil and onion, it is a symphony of textures and temperatures. You feel a deep physical contentment spreading from your stomach, a warm lethargy that anchors you to the present moment, satisfying the oldest of human needs. The intricate patterns of the sumac on the rice dissolve into the delicate swirling floral motifs of meenakari, the art of Persian enamelling. We leave the restaurant and find ourselves in a quiet artisan's workshop, where the focus narrows to a small copper vase held in a craftsman's hand. The object is not yet finished. It is a canvas of raw metal waiting for the touch of fire and colour. This art form is the embodiment of the colour blue, specifically the azure of the Persian sky. Watch as the artist applies the enamel paint with a brush made of a single hair. The precision is breathless. He paints tiny birds, interlocking vines, and geometric arabesques that are so fine they require a magnifying glass to appreciate. The blue is deep, glossy and vitreous, reminding you of the ocean or a stained glass window. The vase is then fired in a kiln, where the heat fuses the glass powder to the copper, creating a surface that is smooth, hard, and cool to the touch. Pick up a finished piece. It feels heavier than it looks, a solid weight in your palm. Run your thumb over the surface. It is glass smooth, with slightly raised ridges where the paint lines are thickest. The colours are vibrant, lapis lazuli blue, turquoise, touches of red and gold, shimmering under the light. Staring at the complex recursive patterns, your eyes follow the endless loops of the vines, getting lost in the azure heaven trapped on the surface of the metal. It is a visual meditation, a reminder that beauty requires patience, heat, and the steady hand of a creator. The deep azure of the enamel vase expands, liquefies, and floods the landscape as we travel south to the warm waters of the Persian Gulf, specifically to the island of Keshem and the magical Hara forests. These are mangrove forests, but they are unlike any other. Imagine floating on a small wooden boat through a maze of waterways. The water is calm, a mirror reflecting the grey-green leaves of the Avicennia marina trees. But here is the magic. At high tide, the forest appears to be floating on the sea, the trunks submerged, the crowns resting on the water like green islands. Reach out and touch the leaves. They're thick and waxy, designed to filter the salt from the seawater, a biological miracle of adaptation. The silence here is profound, broken only by the gentle splash of the oar and the call of the great egret or the heron. This is a sanctuary for migratory birds, and their presence adds a sense of life to the stillness. The air is humid and salty, clinging to your skin, warm and heavy. As the tide lowers, The gnarled, tangled root systems of the trees emerge from the mud, looking like the fingers of the earth grasping for air. It is a liminal space, neither land nor sea, but a fluid world in between. You feel the gentle rocking of the boat, a cradle motion that lulls you deeper into relaxation. The water is tepid and soothing, and the endless green labyrinth invites you to drift, to lose your sense of direction, and to simply flow with the tide. We step off the boat and walk inland, leaving the water for a landscape that looks like it belongs on Mars. We have arrived at the Valley of Stars on Keshem Island. The earth here has been carved by the wind and rain into surreal towering pillars, arches and canyons made of sandstone and marl. It is late at night, the best time to experience the haunting beauty of this place. The locals believe that a star once fell here, shattering the earth into these strange shapes, and as you look around, it is easy to believe. The silence is absolute, yet the wind, when it picks up, whistles through the hollows and crags of the rocks, creating a low, mournful tune that sounds like a whisper from another world. The shapes loom above you, monsters, needles, faces, casting long, jagged shadows in the moonlight. The ground is dry and dusty, crunching softly under your boots. The sky above is a vast, unpolluted dome of stars, so bright they cast their own faint light on the canyon floor. You feel small here, surrounded by the slow violence of erosion that has taken millions of years to sculpt this masterpiece. It is a place of spooky tranquility, a landscape that feels paused in time. Sitting on a ledge, watching the moonlight play tricks on the stone faces, you feel a deep sense of solitude, a separation from the noisy, busy world of humans, alone with the wind and the stars in a valley of frozen dreams. The whistling wind of the valley transforms into the rhythmic thunder of galloping hooves as we travel back in time and space to the royal Nakshi Jahan Square to witness the origins of Chogan or polo. Before it was a sport of the West, it was a Persian game of war and nobility, played on this very field over 2,000 years ago. Imagine the dust rising in golden clouds as horses charge across the green turf. The energy is high, but for you, the observer, it is a rhythmic, hypnotic spectacle. Hear the crack of the mallet striking the wooden ball, a sharp, satisfying sound that echoes off the palace walls. Crack, thud, crack, thud. The horses move with fluid grace, their muscles rippling under glossy coats, turning and weaving in a dance of speed and control. The players are dressed in traditional garb, their focus absolute. Even the music of the game is rhythmic. The drumbeat of hooves, the shouts of the riders, the whistle of the stick through the air. It represents the eternal battle between good and evil, light and dark, played out on a field of green. You're watching from the balcony of the Ali Kapu Palace, safe and elevated. The movement below is continuous and flowing, like a river of energy. It is a display of power contained, of wildness tamed by skill. The repetitive motion of the galloping horses acts as a visual mantra, their speed blurring into a continuous stream that carries your mind away from stillness, only to return it to a state of exhausted, satisfied rest. The heat and dust of the polo field leave you parched, creating a longing for something impossibly cold and sweet. We find ourselves in a small shop in Shiraz, being handed a bowl of falude. This is an ancient frozen dessert, perhaps the oldest in the world, dating back to 400 BC. Look at the bowl. It is filled with thin white vermicelli noodles made from starch, frozen in a semi-solid state, bathed in a syrup of rosewater and lime juice. It looks like frozen snow threads. Take a spoonful. The texture is unique, crunchy yet yielding, icy yet sweet. The noodles snap between your teeth. Crunch, crunch, releasing the tartness of the fresh lime and the floral perfume of the rosewater. It is a shock to the system, a delightful shiver that runs down your spine. The coldness numbs your tongue pleasantly, slowing down your speech, slowing down your thoughts. You can add a splash of sour cherry syrup, watching the crimson liquid bleed into the white ice, creating a beautiful contrast. Eating felude is a slow process. You cannot rush it, or you will get a brain freeze. You must savor small spoonfuls, letting the ice melt, letting the flavors bloom. It is a pure sensory cleanse, a cold fire that wakes up the palate while cooling the blood, leaving a lingering taste of citrus and flowers that feels like a kiss of winter in the middle of summer. From the sensation of taste, we move to the sensation of sound, retreating from the bustling street into the sanctuary of the music room, Tongboride, on the upper floor of the Alikapu Palace. This room is an acoustic miracle. The walls and ceilings are not flat. They are double-shelled and carved with the hollow shapes of long-necked vases, flasks, and instruments. These are not just decorations, they are sound traps. Imagine standing in the center of this room. A musician sits in the corner plucking a single string on a tar. The sound does not bounce around harshly as it would in a stone chamber. Instead, the hollow plaster shapes absorb the echoes, stripping away the reverberation, leaving the note pure, dry, and intimate. It feels as if the music is originating from inside your own head. The visual effect is dreamlike. The negative space of the vases creates a honeycomb of shadows, a surreal stalactite ceiling that looks like it is dripping with silence. The room is designed to kill the echo, to create a space of perfect clarity. You feel the stillness here more than anywhere else. It is a room built for listening, really listening. The shadows in the niches seem to hold the ghosts of old melodies, waiting to be released. You close your eyes, and the lack of echo makes the silence feel thick and heavy, wrapping around you like a velvet cloak, damping down the noise of your own thoughts. The plaster shapes of the music room dissolve into the crystalline geometry of the earth as we descend into the mines of Semnan to find Persian blue salt. This is one of the rarest salts in the world, found only in the mountain ranges of northern Iran. Imagine walking into a cavern where the walls glisten not with white, but with veins of sapphire blue. The colour comes from the sylvanite mineral, compressed over millions of years until the crystal lattice fractured the light into blue. It is cool and dry in the mine. You reach out and break off a small crystal. It looks like a piece of frozen sky or a shard of deep ocean ice. Hold it up to the lantern light. It glows with a ghostly electric blue inner light. Place a tiny grain on your tongue. The taste is intense. First a sharp, salty salinity, followed quickly by a subtle, sweet aftertaste that is unique to this mineral. It is the taste of the prehistoric ocean that once covered this land. The environment of the mine is sterile and pure, the air ionized and clean, clearing your sinuses and lungs. Being surrounded by these blue crystals feels magical, as if you are inside a geode. The weight of the mountain above you is comforting, a heavy blanket of rock that protects this hidden treasure. You feel grounded, connected to the slow geological time that creates such beauty in the dark, waiting patiently to be found. We emerge from the depths of the salt mine to the fresh, open air of the Alvan mountain in Hamadan, standing at the base of the Ganjnama inscriptions. Here, carved into the sheer granite face of the mountain, are ancient cuneiform tablets written by Darius the Great and his son Xerxes. But it is not just the writing that commands your attention. It is the waterfall that cascades down beside them. Visualize the scene. Two massive rectangular panels etched into the rock, praising Ahura Mazda and the lineage of the kings, standing silent and immutable. Next to them, a curtain of water falls from a height of 12 meters, crashing onto the rocks below with a continuous roaring hiss. The contrast is profound. The permanence of the stone words against the fluidity of the water. The spray from the waterfall creates a mist that cools your face, filled with rainbows in the afternoon sun. The sound of the water is a powerful white noise, drowning out all other sounds, creating a privacy shield around you. You look at the wedge-shaped letters, indecipherable to the uninitiated, yet conveying a sense of weight and authority. They have watched this waterfall for 2,500 years. The juxtaposition of the fleeting water and the eternal stone lulls your mind into a state of perspective. You're witnessing the passage of time in two speeds, the fast rush of the river and the slow endurance of the rock, and in that gap you find a space to rest, to be still and to let go. The roar of the waterfall at Ganjnama softens, fading into the distance until it is merely a gentle hum in the back of your mind, and we drift southeast, away from the grey granite of the mountain, toward a place where the earth itself blushes with a deep rusty warmth. We have arrived at the ancient village of Abyane, hidden in the fold of the Carcass Mountains. As you visualize this place, notice the color that saturates everything. The soil, the bricks, the walls. It is a rich, reddish ochre, a hue derived from the high iron oxide in the clay. The entire village glows like a dying ember against the stark blue sky. Walk slowly through the narrow, twisting alleyways. There is no asphalt here, only the packed red earth that has felt the tread of feet for 2,500 years. The architecture is stepped, similar to Masoulé, but the feeling is different. It is older, more secluded, a red fortress of solitude. The windows are made of wood, their lattices weathered by centuries of sun, smelling of dry timber and dust. It is incredibly quiet. The modern world has not pierced this sanctuary. You might see an elderly woman sitting on a stoop, and her dress is a garden in motion. Unlike the black chadors seen in the cities, the women here wear long white scarves printed with large, colourful red roses. It is a splash of life against the red mud. The air is dry and crisp, carrying the faint scent of wild thyme from the mountains. You run your hand along a wall, feeling the rough, warm texture of the adobe, a material that breathes, absorbing the sun's heat by day and releasing it slowly by night. You feel a profound sense of isolation here, but it is a comforting isolation, a feeling of being tucked away in a secret pocket of the world where time has stopped, allowing you to rest in the red embrace of history. The earthy warmth of the red clay transitions into a sensation of sticky, sweet delight as we travel to the city of Isfahan to taste gaz, the traditional Persian nougat. Imagine sitting in a cool, tiled room, a silver dish placed before you. Inside are small, dusted squares of this ancient confection. Gaz is not just a sweet, it is a texture. It is made from the sap of the angbin plant, a desert bush, mixed with egg whites, rose water, and pistachios. Pick up a piece. It is dusted with flour, soft and powdery against your fingertips. As you bite into it, there is a resistance. It is chewy, elastic, and dense. It does not crumble, it stretches. The taste is a complex layering of sensations. The floral perfume of the rosewater hits you first, followed by the subtle, woody sweetness of the angbin sap, and finally, the earthy crunch of the fresh green pistachios hidden inside like emerald jewels. It is a slow candy. You cannot rush through it. The chewing becomes a rhythmic, meditative act, the nougat slowly dissolving, coating your mouth in a blanket of sweetness that is never cloying, just rich and satisfying. It is often served with tea, the hot bitterness of the brew melting the nougat on your tongue. This is the taste of celebration, of hospitality, a flavour that feels like a hug from the inside, slowing your pulse with its sugary comfort. From the sticky sweetness, we move to the cooling presence of water and stone, returning to the Zayande-Rud River, but this time to the Kaju Bridge. Unlike the Siosi Pole, the Kaju is not just a bridge, it is a weir and a pleasure pavilion, a place designed for lingering. It is evening, and the bridge is illuminated by golden lights that reflect in the dark water, creating a double image of arches shimmering in the current. Walk down the stone steps to the water's level. Here, the bridge creates a series of small, semi-private alcoves and platforms just inches above the river. You sit on one of these stone steps, the seat of the king. The air is cool and damp, refreshing against your skin. The sound of the water is different here. Because of the sluice gates, the river rushes through with a soothing white noise hiss that drowns out all other sounds. You lean back against the stone pier, which still holds the warmth of the afternoon sun. Across the river, you hear the faint sound of singing, impromptu gatherings of men who come here to test the acoustics of the arches, their voices rising in soulful, melancholic tunes that drift over the water. It is a place of communal solitude, where you can be alone with the river while surrounded by the gentle presence of others. The symmetry of the arches, the flow of the water, the golden light, it all creates a hypnotic visual loop that lulls your mind into a state of fluid, drifting peace. The flowing river fades, and the ground rises sharply beneath us, lifting us high, high up into the Alborz Mountains to the legendary Alamet Castle. This is the Eagle's Nest, perched atop a jagged rock promontory that seems inaccessible to humans. To reach it, you must climb a winding path that hugs the cliffside, leaving the heavy world below. The air thins and cools, becoming piercingly fresh. Stand on the ruins of the ramparts, your eye level with the hawks that ride the thermals. The view is vertiginous and spectacular, a 360-degree panorama of grey and green valleys, craggy peaks, and the distant shimmer of the Kazvin plain. This was once the stronghold of the assassins, a place of mystery and impregnable defence, but now it is a place of absolute quiet. The wind is the only constant here, a clean, high-altitude breeze that whips through the stone arches, carrying the scent of snow and bare rock. You feel a sense of detachment from the earth, a feeling of floating. The problems of the world down there seem microscopic, invisible. You're safe in the clouds, protected by the sheer verticality of the rock. The stone walls are rough and cold, weathered by 1,000 winters. Touching them connects you to the resilience of those who lived here, isolated and self-sufficient. It is a place to gain perspective, to look down on your life from a great height and see the patterns, breathing in the thin, pure air of freedom. We descend from the rugged cliffs to the soft, luxurious texture of silk and wool in the desert city of Yazd. We are entering a workshop to witness the weaving of termeh, the most precious fabric of Iran. Imagine a cloth so dense, so intricate that it looks like a painting made of thread. The dominant motif is the botte, paisley, which is said to represent a cypress tree bending humbly in the wind, a symbol of resilience and modesty. Run your hands over a bolt of termeh. It is cool, smooth, and incredibly heavy for its size due to the density of the weave. The colours are a deep burning spectrum, crimson reds, burnt oranges, indigos, and threads of real gold and silver woven into the border. The back of the fabric is a tangled web of threads, the chaotic support for the order on the front. Watch the weaver at the loom. The process is agonizingly slow, requiring intense concentration to manage the hundreds of bobbins. It is a meditation in patience. The fabric shimmers as you move it, catching the light in its gold threads. Wrapping yourself in a termeh shawl is like wrapping yourself in history and art. It is warm, protective, and unmistakably royal. The complex recursive patterns trap the eye, leading it round and round the curved teardrop shapes, a visual labyrinth that tires the mind and invites it to rest in the beauty of the weave. The texture of dry silk shifts to the wet, comforting warmth of a steaming bowl of soup. We're in a family kitchen on a cold winter day, and the air is thick with the savoury aroma of ashi reshte. This is the ultimate comfort food, a thick, hearty noodle soup that is prepared for journeys and goodbyes, symbolising the winding path of life. Visualise the pot bubbling on the stove. It is a deep green colour, rich with spinach, parsley, cilantro, and mint. Swirling within the green depth are thick white noodles, reshte, chickpeas, lentils, and kidney beans. It is a meal that smells of the earth, herbal and wholesome. You're handed a bowl, heavy and hot. On top it is garnered with a swirl of kashk, a salty fermented whey sauce, golden fried onions and crispy garlic. The steam rises into your face, opening your pores, smelling of mint and oil. Take a spoonful. The texture is thick and creamy, coating your throat. The taste is savoury, salty and sour from the kashk, with the soft chew of the noodles and the beans. It warms you instantly, a heat that radiates from your stomach to your fingers and toes. It is the culinary equivalent of a weighted blanket, heavy, warm and deeply reassuring, telling you that you are nourished, you are home, and all is well. The steam clears, and we descend below the surface again, but not into a mine. We are on the coral island of Kish in the Persian Gulf, entering the underground city of Kariz. This is not a cave. It is a subterranean network carved directly into a fossilized coral reef, located 16 meters below the ground. As you step down into the tunnels, the temperature drops instantly, becoming cool and pleasant, a constant haven from the tropical heat above. Look closely at the walls and ceiling. They are not stone, but a graveyard of ancient sea life. You can see shells, corals and fossils embedded in the walls, millions of years old, frozen in time. The air is exceptionally pure here, filtered by the earth. A stream of fresh water flows through the centre of the Kariz, part of an ancient qanat system, and the sound of the running water echoes softly against the coral walls. Trickle, flow, splash. The lighting is dim and atmospheric, casting long shadows that dance over the fossils. Walking here feels like walking on the bottom of a prehistoric ocean, yet you are breathing air. The porous coral walls absorb sound, making the space incredibly quiet. It is a sanctuary of cool air and deep time, where the water flows endlessly in the dark, and you are held in the memory of the sea. We rise from the coral depths, soaring upwards, higher and higher, until we breach the cloud layer and land in the village of Filband, known as the roof of the eastern Mazandaran. Imagine standing on a grassy ridge. Below you, there is no earth, only a vast rolling ocean of white clouds that stretches to the horizon. You're literally walking above the sky. The sun here is bright and unfiltered, warming your face, while the air is crisp and cold. The silence is profound because the clouds muffle the sounds of the world below. It is like an island in the sky. Occasionally the cloud sea rises, wisps of mist curling around your ankles like a white tide, cool and damp. Watch the slow, hypnotic movement of the cloud layer. It churns and drifts like a slow-motion ocean, shifting from grey to white to gold as the sun moves. The cottages here are simple, wooden and weathered, with tin roofs that glint in the sun. There is a sense of detachment here that is absolute. You're cut off from the noise, the traffic, the urgency of the lowlands. You're in a dreamscape where the ground is solid grass, but the ocean is made of vapour. Breathing the thin, clean air, watching the sun dip into the clouds and set them on fire with pink and violet light, you feel light, unburdened, floating on the very edge of the world. From the sea of clouds, we drift to the crater of a dormant volcano, Mount Sabalan, in the northwest. We're standing at the very summit, 4,111 meters high, but instead of fire, we find ice. In the bowl of the crater lies a breathtakingly beautiful lake, frozen for most of the year. The water is a startling deep turquoise, ringed by jagged walls of volcanic rock that are often dusted with snow. It is the highest lake in the country. The air here is thin and holy. Locals believe this is where the prophet Zoroaster meditated for years. The surface of the lake is like a mirror, perfectly still, reflecting the dark rocks and the deep blue zenith of the sky. If it is winter, the lake is a sheet of ice, cracking and shifting with a sound like distant thunder. If it is summer, the water is impossibly clear and cold. There is no vegetation, no sound of animals, just rock, water, and sky. The stark minimalism of the landscape clears the mind. It is a place of elemental purity. The cold wind bites at your cheeks, making you feel alive, but the stillness of the crater lake acts as a centering force, a blue eye of the mountain staring up at the cosmos, holding a deep frozen peace that has lasted for epochs. We descend from the frozen peak, drifting south to the city of Shiraz in the heart of spring, to be enveloped by the scent of naranj, bitter orange blossoms. The entire city is transformed into a garden of fragrance. You're walking down a boulevard lined with orange trees, their branches heavy with dark, glossy leaves and thousands of small, waxy white flowers. The scent is overwhelming in the most beautiful way. It is sweet, citrusy, fresh, and slightly spicy. It hangs in the air like a visible mist. It is the smell of hope and renewal. You close your eyes and breathe deep, letting the aroma fill your lungs. It triggers a physiological relaxation. The scent of neroli is known to calm the heart and soothe anxiety. The white petals fall like snow on the sidewalks, crunching softly under your feet. You pick up a fallen blossom and crush it between your fingers, releasing a burst of oil that smells like sunshine and green zest. The air is warm and gentle, the evening breeze carrying the perfume into every house, every room. It is a sensory immersion, a reminder that the earth offers beauty freely. Surrounded by this invisible cloud of sweetness, your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches, and you simply drift on the fragrant breeze, lulled by the perfume of the sleeping city. The intoxicating perfume of the orange blossoms gently lifts from the streets of Shiraz, carried away on a breeze that grows cooler and damper as we drift north, settling softly onto the emerald green slopes of Lahijan. We've arrived at the tea capital of Iran, a landscape that looks like a painting of endless rolling velvet. Imagine standing on a hillside surrounded by the lush, manicured rows of Camellia sinensis bushes, stretching as far as the eye can see. The air here is radically different from the dry desert. It is thick with moisture, heavy with the scent of rain and wet chlorophyll, a smell that instantly hydrates your spirit. It is early morning, and a soft mist clings to the valleys, blurring the line between the earth and the sky. You walk between the waist-high bushes, brushing your hands against the dark, glossy leaves. They are firm and cool, wet with dew that soaks into your fingertips. The silence is cushioned by the fog, broken only by the distant sound of tea pickers moving methodically through the rows. This is the birthplace of the Iranian tea ritual. Visualize the leaves being plucked, dried, and oxidized until they turn black and brittle, ready to release their amber soul into boiling water. The sheer amount of green in your visual field is soothing to the nervous system, a color that signals abundance and safety. You sit on a wooden bench overlooking the plantation, sipping a glass of the local brew, reddish-brown, clear and astringent, feeling the warmth of the cup in your hands while the mist rolls over you like a soft, cool ghost, wrapping you in the quiet comfort of the clouds. From the manicured softness of the tea fields, the landscape grows wilder, the trees taller, and the path steeper as we climb into the heart of the Hyrcanian forest to find the formidable Rudkun Castle. This is a fortress of 1,000 steps, a stone serpent winding its way along the spine of the forest-covered mountains. Imagine the journey up. The air is filled with the scent of damp moss, ferns, and ancient oak trees. The sunlight filters through the dense canopy in dappled shards of green and gold, illuminating the stone steps that have been worn smooth by centuries of feet. As you reach the top, the castle emerges from the mist, a massive structure of brick and stone that seems to grow organically out of the mountain itself. It is a place of solitude and strength, abandoned by armies but conquered by nature. Vines and ivy cling to the ramparts, softening the harsh lines of defence. You walk along the watchtowers, looking out over a sea of green treetops that stretches infinitely in every direction. The only sound is the wind rustling the leaves and the cry of a hawk. The heavy iron gates, now rusted and open, invite you into the courtyards where soldiers once drilled, now quiet meadows of grass. Touching the cold, mossy stone of the walls, you feel a deep sense of stability, a connection to the past that is both romantic and melancholy. The castle stands as a testament to endurance, holding its ground against the forest and the fog, a silent guardian watching over the sleeping world below. We leave the heights of the forest and descend into the deep subterranean darkness of the Ali Sadr cave, the world's largest water cave. The air changes instantly. It becomes still, cool, and stable, untouched by the weather outside. You're stepping onto a small boat, gliding silently onto a vast underground lake that is as clear as glass. The water is so transparent that you can see the rock floor meters below, lit by soft artificial lights that make the limestone glow. As the boat drifts deeper into the cavern, look up. The ceiling is a cathedral of geology, dripping with stalactites that hang like chandeliers of stone, formed drop by drop over millions of years. The silence here is unlike anywhere else. It is a wet, heavy silence, amplified by the vastness of the chamber. The only sound is the gentle lapping of water against the hull of the boat. Slosh, ripple, silence. You float through narrow tunnels that open up into massive halls, passing rock formations that look like frozen waterfalls or statues of mythical beasts. The air is rich with minerals, easy to breathe and curative. Being inside the earth, floating on this hidden sea, you lose all sense of time. Day and night do not exist here. There is only the eternal present, the slow drip of water and the protective weight of the mountain above you, cradling you in its dark, liquid womb. The cool, dark water of the cave flows into the complex, roaring channels of the Shushtar historical hydraulic system. We emerge into the blinding sunlight to witness a masterpiece of ancient engineering that turns water into music. Imagine a series of waterfalls cascading over cliffs of sandstone, diverted from the river by tunnels carved by hand millennia ago. This is not a natural fall. It is a machine made of water and rock, designed to power mills and irrigate the plains. Stand on the ledge and listen. The sound is a constant, thunderous white noise, a symphony of rushing water that drowns out every other thought. The water crashes into pools below, creating a mist that cools the hot air. You can see the ruins of the old watermills, their stone wheels silent now, but the water continues its work, flowing through the channels with relentless energy. The spray creates perpetual rainbows that dance in the mist. It is a mesmerizing sight, watching the water follow the path carved for it, a testament to the harmony between human ingenuity and the forces of nature. The vibration of the falls hums in the ground beneath your feet, a deep, resonant massage for the senses. You watch the chaotic white water smooth out as it flows away into the calm river, a visual metaphor for the calming of the mind, the turbulence dissolving into a steady, peaceful stream. The roar of the water fades behind us as we travel southeast to the edge of the Great Desert, arriving at the silent majesty of Argibam. Before the earthquake, and in its spirit still, it stands as the largest adobe structure in the world, a citadel made of mud and straw that glows like gold in the setting sun. Imagine approaching this walled city, rising like a mirage from the flat desert floor. It is a labyrinth of walls, towers, and domes, all rendered in the same warm earthen material. Walk through the main gate. The air is dry and warm, smelling of sun-baked clay and dust. The silence of the desert surrounds you. You wander through the empty streets of the citadel, past the governor's quarters and the watchtowers. The walls are thick, keeping the interior cool despite the blazing sun. Run your hand over the rough texture of the adobe. It crumbles slightly, a reminder of its fragility and its organic nature. As the sun dips below the horizon, the entire city turns a deep, burning orange, then fades to purple. The shadows lengthen, stretching across the courtyards like long fingers. There is a profound stillness here, the quiet of a place that has watched history pass by for 2,000 years. You climb to the highest point, the Citadel Keep, and look out over the palm groves that surround the city, feeling the vast emptiness of the desert stretching out beyond, a quiet ocean of sand that invites you to expand your awareness into the infinite. The golden walls of the desert citadel dissolve into the tawny spotted fur of the Persian leopard, the ghost of the mountains. We are shifting our focus to the rugged rocky ridges of the Alborz and Zagros ranges, the hidden kingdom of this elusive cat. Imagine yourself sitting perfectly still on a high, rocky outcrop at twilight. The air is cooling rapidly, and the shadows are deepening in the valleys. Suddenly you see movement, not a sound, just a shift in the pattern of the rocks. The leopard emerges, moving with a liquid grace that is mesmerizing. Its coat is a masterpiece of camouflage, rosettes of black and gold that blend perfectly with the stone and dry grass. It walks without making a sound, its large paws padded and soft. Look into its eyes, pools of pale green or amber, watchful and calm. There is no aggression, only a supreme confidence and a deep, solitary peace. The animal pauses, sniffing the wind, its whiskers twitching. You're witnessing a creature of pure instinct, a being that lives entirely in the present moment. The sight of it is a rare gift, a connection to the wild, untamed heart of the land. It moves on, melting back into the shadows as if it were never there, leaving you with a sense of wonder and a feeling of being watched over by the silent spirits of the mountains. The wildness of the mountains softens and weaves itself into the thick, primitive wool of a Gaba rug. We're in the tent of a Qashqai nomad, witnessing the creation of this simple, expressive art. Unlike the intricate, calculated city carpets, the Gaba is a rug of the soul, woven from memory and imagination. Imagine the loom set up on the ground. The pile of this rug is thick, shaggy and soft, meant for sleeping on. The colours are vibrant and natural, bright yellows from pomegranate skin, deep blues from indigo, undyed creams and browns from the sheep's own wool. The design is minimalist, a vast field of colour interrupted by a simple, childlike figure of a lion, a tree, or a geometric shape. There is no pattern to follow. The weaver creates it as she goes, telling the story of her day, her landscape, her dreams. Run your fingers through the deep pile. It feels warm and oily, alive with the lanolin of the wool. It is a tactile comfort, a rug that invites you to lie down and curl up. The imperfections in the lines, the variation in the dye, known as a brash, give the rug a shimmering, vibrating quality, like a watercolour painting. It is honest, warm, and deeply human, a soft island of colour in the harsh landscape, inviting you to rest your head and sleep. The soft, shaggy wool becomes smooth, hard, and impossibly detailed as we enter a workshop in Shiraz to observe the art of katamkari. This is the art of marquetry, or inlaying, where the surface of a wooden box or frame is covered in a microscopic mosaic of wood, bone, and metal. Imagine a bundle of triangular rods, brass for gold, camel bone for white, ebony for black, beetle palm for red. These rods are glued together to form a geometric star, then sliced into thin wafers. Watch the artisan apply these wafers to the surface of a jewellery box. The precision is staggering. There can be up to 400 tiny pieces in a single square inch. The result is a surface that shimmers like a kaleidoscope. It feels smooth and cool under your fingertips, yet if you look closely, you can see the grain of each tiny piece of wood, the glint of each brass pin. The pattern is usually a starry sky of hexagons repeating infinitely. It is a visual representation of order and unity, known as Tawheed. Staring at the complex geometry is hypnotic. Your eye tries to follow the lines but eventually gives up, relaxing into the overall beauty of the texture. The smell of the workshop is a mix of wood glue, sawdust and varnish, a scent of creation. This is an art of patience, of taking thousands of disparate fragments and binding them together into a beautiful, cohesive whole, just as the fragmented thoughts of the day are bound together into the smooth surface of sleep. The geometric stars of the inlay work expand and soften, transforming into the blue tiled dome of the tomb of Saadi, the master of wisdom and words. We are back in Shiraz, but in a garden that feels more like a university of the soul, Sadi was a traveller, a survivor, and a teacher, and his tomb reflects a sense of calm authority. The structure is tall and open, with turquoise tiles that mirror the colour of the sky. Walk through the garden that surrounds the tomb. It is sunken into the ground, creating a feeling of intimacy and protection. Tall cypress trees stand like sentinels, and the air is filled with the scent of blooming flowers. Inside the tomb, the walls are inscribed with verses from his books, the Gulistan, Rose Garden, and the Bustan, Orchard. Human beings are members of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. The atmosphere here is different from Hafez's emotional mysticism. It is a place of clarity, ethics, and grounded peace. The light filtering through the stained glass is cool and serene. You see people reading the inscriptions, nodding in silent agreement. It is a place to lay down the burden of confusion, to find comfort in shared human experience. The blue of the dome seems to pull your thoughts upward, dissolving them into the azure ether, leaving you with a mind that is quiet, ordered, and wise. The wisdom of the poet settles in your mind, and a thirst arises for something cool, white, and refreshing. You're handed a tall, frosty glass of dew. This is not a sweet drink. It is savoury, the perfect antidote to the heat and the sweetness of the dates you may have eaten. Imagine a drink made of yogurt, water, and a pinch of salt, beaten until it is frothy and light. But the secret is in the herbs. Floating on the white surface is a dusting of dried mint, rose petals, and perhaps a touch of pennyroyal. The scent is sharp, clean, and herbal. You lift the glass to your lips. The condensation runs down the side, cooling your fingers. The first sip is a revelation, sour, salty, and incredibly refreshing. The carbonation, if it is fizzy, tickles your tongue, while the yogurt coats your stomach with a soothing balm. It is a taste that wakes up the palate but calms the digestion. In traditional medicine, yogurt is cooling, inducing a natural drowsiness. As you drink, you can feel the heat of the day evaporating from your skin. The white liquid looks like milk but tastes like the earth. It is the taste of a summer afternoon nap, a drink that signals the end of work and the beginning of rest, washing away the dust and leaving you cool, satisfied, and ready to close your eyes. The cooling, salty tartness of the dew settles comfortably within you, a refreshing wash that cleanses the palate and prepares the senses for a shift from the savoury to the profoundly sweet. We drift now from the cool interiors of the tea house to the sun-drenched south, floating lazily into the vast ancient date palm groves known as Naklistan in the provinces of Hormozgan or Kerman. Imagine walking beneath a canopy of towering palms, their fronds rustling high above like dry whispering paper in the warm breeze. The light here is filtered, falling in jagged stripes of gold and shadow on the dusty ground. These trees are treated with the reverence of humans. In local culture, a palm tree is not felled, it is killed, for it possesses a soul. Reaching up, you pluck a single ripe Mazafati date, dark as the night and heavy with its own sugar. The skin is thin, delicate and almost black, yielding instantly to your touch. As you break it open, there is no snap, only a soft, sticky separation of flesh that looks like dark honey. Place it on your tongue. The taste is an explosion of caramel, molasses, and intense sun-baked sweetness, nature's pure energy condensed into a single fruit. It melts in your mouth, coating your throat with a richness that is immediate and comforting. The air in the grove smells of warm earth and fermenting sugar, a heavy, drowsy scent that slows the mind. You lean back against the rough, fibrous trunk of a palm, feeling the heat of the day radiating from the tree, safe in this garden of giants where the pace of life is measured not in hours, but in the slow ripening of the fruit. The golden heat of the date grove fades as the seasons turn in your mind, shifting from the harvest warmth to the crisp, biting air of midwinter. We stand now on a snow-covered hill outside a city as twilight falls, gathering with a community to celebrate Jashni Sadeh. the ancient festival of fire that honours the defeat of darkness. In the centre of the gathering stands a massive pyramid of dry wood, piled high by the collective hands of the people. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the snow in shades of violet and blue, and the cold begins to prickle at your cheeks. Then the torch is lowered. Watch as the fire catches. At first a small orange tongue licking the wood, then a sudden roaring upward rush of flame. The heat hits your face in a wave, a stark, beautiful contrast to the freezing air at your back. The fire crackles and pops, sending showers of golden sparks swirling up into the indigo night sky, mixing with the stars. This is not a destructive fire, it is a symbol of warmth, light, and civilization standing against the cold chaos of the dark. You feel drawn to the light, your eyes mesmerized by the dancing, unpredictable shapes of the flames. The crowd is silent or humming low tunes, everyone united by the primal comfort of the hearth. The smell is wood smoke and winter air, a nostalgic scent that triggers deep memories of safety. As the fire burns down to glowing embers, radiating a steady, pulsing warmth, you feel a sense of triumph. The light has won, the cold is held at bay, and you are part of a circle of warmth that has remained unbroken for thousands of years. The glowing embers of the Sadr fire transform into vibrant, crystallized colours as we travel south to the province of Bushehr to witness the surreal geology of the Jashak Salt Dome. This is a mountain not of grey rock but of salt, a goddess of salt rising from the earth. Imagine walking through a valley that looks like it belongs on another planet. The ground beneath your feet is crunchy, covered in crystals that sparkle like diamonds in the sun. But it is the colour that captures your dreaming mind. The salt here is not just white. Due to mineral impurities, it flows in rivers of red, ochre, yellow, and deep black. It looks as if a giant painter has spilled buckets of liquid colour down the mountainsides, and they have frozen in time. You enter a salt cave, the entrance draped with stalactites of salt that hang like crystal daggers. Inside, the air is sterile, incredibly dry, and salty, healing air that clears the lungs instantly. The silence is profound, deadened by the density of the mineral walls. You run your hand over a wall of salt. It is smooth, cold, and hard, translucent enough to let a ghostly light filter through. There are no plants, no insects, just the absolute beautiful stillness of the mineral world. It is a landscape of permanent art, where the earth reveals its hidden jewels, and walking through it feels like walking through a solidified rainbow, leaving you with a sense of wonder and a quiet, crystalline clarity of mind. From the dry, colourful salt mountains, we descend to the waterlogged plains of Khuzestan, to the ancient city of Susa standing before the tomb of Daniel. This is not a typical dome. It is a masterpiece of specific, localised architecture known as a pineapple or distinctively stepped cone. Visualise the structure. A tower of white plaster rising in 25 jagged, zigzagging steps toward the sky, resembling the scale of a palm tree trunk or a ziggurat. The tomb sits quietly by the banks of the Shore River. The air here is humid and warm, filled with the sound of the flowing water and the rustle of reeds. You walk into the courtyard, the white cone looming above you, shining brilliantly against the blue sky. It is a shape designed to shed the heavy rains of the region, but to your eyes, it looks like a stairway to heaven. Inside the shrine, the atmosphere is thick with devotion and history. The walls are mirrored, reflecting the light of green lamps, creating a soothing aquatic atmosphere. You touch the silver latticework of the Zari, the enclosure around the grave, feeling the cool metal. This is the resting place of a prophet who walked into a den of lions and survived through faith. There is a deep, resonant peace here, a feeling of being protected from the beasts of your own anxieties. The rhythmic geometry of the cone above draws your eye upward, lifting your thoughts out of the mundane and dissolving them into the blue ether. The water of the Shore River expands, widens, and slows until it becomes the vast, tranquil mirror of the Shadigan Lagoon. This is the Venice of Iran, a massive wetland sanctuary where the water and the sky become one. Imagine stepping onto a long narrow boat, a balam, and being pushed gently away from the shore by a boatman using a single long pole. The noise of the land fades, replaced by the soft splash, drip, splash of the pole entering the water. You're floating through a forest of tall reeds that rise high above your head, creating a corridor of green privacy. The air is thick, humid, and smells of life, of wet mud, green vegetation, and water. Suddenly, the reeds open up into a wide, open clearing of water. You see water buffalo submerged up to their necks, moving slowly, their dark heads like stones breaking the surface, exhaling misty breaths. Birds are everywhere, marbled teals, herons, storks, taking flight with a rush of wings that sounds like applause. The village houses here are built on the water, made of reeds and mud, floating islands of humanity. Life moves at the speed of the current. The gentle rocking of the boat is a cradle, lulling you into a trance. You trail your hand in the water. It is cool and silky. There is no destination, only the drifting, the soft light of the sun filtering through the reeds, and the overwhelming sense of peace that comes from being held by the water. We step from the boat onto dry land, feeling the need to walk, to ground ourselves, and we look down at our feet to see them encased in giver. These are the traditional handmade shoes of the Kurdish and Zagros regions, a marvel of comfort and breathability. Imagine slipping your feet into a pair. The sole is not rubber, but compacted cotton or leather, sturdy yet flexible. The upper part is woven from white cotton and silk thread, a mesh so fine it looks like lace. As you walk, you feel the air passing through the tiny holes in the weave, cooling your toes with every step. It is like walking on a cloud, or barefoot with protection. There is no pinching, no heat. The shoe molds perfectly to the shape of your foot. They are blindingly white, a symbol of cleanliness and purity in the dusty landscape. The sensation is one of lightness, of removing the heavy boots of the modern world and wearing something that breathes. You walk over the rocky path and the shoes grip the stone, connecting you to the texture of the earth without the pain. It is a sensory reminder of a simpler way of living, where clothing was designed to work with the body and the environment. Your steps become lighter, quieter, almost silent, as if you are gliding over the ground, leaving no trace, moving softly into the night. The silent steps lead us to a place of eternal fire and silent worship, the Zoroastrian fire temple, or Atash Behram, in Yazd. We enter a clean, simple building surrounded by cypress and pine trees. The atmosphere shifts immediately to one of solemn reverence. Behind a large glass window, deep in the sanctuary, burns a fire that has been kept alive for more than 1,500 years. Stare into the flame. It is bright, yellow-orange, dancing with a lively energy that belies its age. It has been fed with apricot and almond wood by priests in white masks for centuries, never once allowed to die. The smell in the hall is faint, clean wood smoke and frankincense. You stand in the viewing hall, separated from the fire but feeling its presence. It is a symbol of purity, truth, and the light of God, Ahura Mazda. The thought of a flame burning continuously through wars, invasions, and the rise and fall of dynasties is awe-inspiring. It anchors you in the concept of continuity. Your own life feels like a brief spark, but this fire is a river of light flowing through time. The silence here is not empty. It is full of intent. You breathe in the stillness, feeling a sympathetic warmth ignite in your own chest. A small inner flame of peace that burns steadily, untouched by the winds of the outside world. The warmth of the fire brings a sudden watering to the mouth, a craving for a taste that is sharp and awakening. We find ourselves in a mountain village, perhaps near Darband, looking at trays of lava shack drying in the bright sun. This is Persian fruit leather, vivid sheets of concentrated flavour made from plums, apricots, pomegranates, or sour cherries. The The sheets glisten like stained glass, deep reds, ambers, and purples. Imagine peeling a strip of lava shack from the tray. It is thin, slightly sticky, and leathery. You tear off a piece and place it on your tongue. The reaction is immediate. The sourness hits the sides of your jaw, a delicious tangy shock that makes your mouth water profusely. It is the essence of fruit, boiled down, strained, and dried until only the intense flavour remains. As you chew, the sourness softens into a natural sweetness, dissolving slowly. It is a taste of childhood, of summers preserved for the winter. The texture requires you to slow down, to work through the chewiness. The tartness cuts through lethargy, but in a way that feels cleansing, like a splash of cold water. It grounds you in the physical sensation of taste, pulling your focus away from abstract thoughts and centering it entirely on the sharp, sweet reality of the fruit in your mouth. The sharp tang fades, leaving a clean palate as we gaze upward, straining our necks to look at the towering cliff face of Bisotun. High above the road, carved directly into the living limestone of the mountain, is a massive relief and inscription. This is the declaration of Darius the Great, a billboard of the ancient world. You're standing at the base of the mountain, feeling tiny against the sheer vertical scale of the rock. The figures carved up there, the king, the rebels, the floating Faravahar symbol, are hundreds of feet off the ground. How did they get there? The mystery adds to the dreamlike quality. The rock face glows a pale gold in the afternoon sun. The wind whipping around the cliff carries the echoes of history. This spot has been a caravan stop on the Silk Road for millennia. You can almost hear the bells of the camels and the languages of a dozen empires drifting on the breeze. The inscription is written in 3 languages: Old Persian, Elamite, and Babylonian, a Rosetta Stone of the East. It is a testament to the human desire to be remembered, to scratch our existence into the very bones of the earth. Staring up at it, you feel a sense of permanence. The mountain holds the story safe. You don't need to remember anything right now. The rock remembers for you. You can let go of your own narrative and rest in the shadow of this eternal chronicle. The dusty grandeur of the cliffs and the road leaves you weary, longing for the ultimate release of tension. We arrive at the door of a traditional hammam like the Ganjali Khan bathhouse in Kerman. You step down into the changing room, Sabine, and the world is instantly muffled. The air is warm and humid, smelling of damp stone, soap and steam. You enter the hot room, Gamkhane. The light filters in through small glass lenses in the domed ceiling, creating shafts of misty illumination that pierce the steam. The floor is warm marble, smooth and wet under your feet. You lie down on the central stone platform, the Gama sang, allowing the heat of the stone to seep into your spine, melting the knots in your back. The sound of water splashing into copper basins echoes softly. An attendant scrubs your skin with a kize, rough mitt, and sefidab, white chalk, sloughing away the dead layers, the old worries, the fatigue. It is a shedding of the past. Then comes the warm water rinse, washing it all away, followed by a massage with soap that bubbles into clouds of foam. You feel incredibly clean, newborn and heavy with relaxation. Your skin tingles, glowing and pink. Wrapped in a dry cotton towel, you rest on the benches, sipping cool tea, feeling a lethargy so deep and sweet that your limbs feel like water, and your eyes, finally, act on their own desire to close. The steam of the bathhouse dissipates, leaving your skin tingling and your body heavy with a pleasant, warm exhaustion that calls out for nourishment. We find ourselves seated on a Persian rug, the centerpiece of a family gathering, awaiting the unveiling of the golden crown of Iranian cuisine, tahdig. The pot is brought to the center of the spread, inverted with a practiced, confident flip. As the metal pot is lifted, a perfect golden brown disc of crispy rice is revealed, glistening with saffron and oil. It looks like a sun made of grain. Listen to the sound as a spoon presses down to break it, a distinct resonant crack that echoes the perfect crystallization of the starch. This is the prize, the most coveted part of the meal. You're handed a shard of this golden crust. It is warm and greasy in the most comforting way. Place it in your mouth and bite down. The crunch is deafeningly satisfying, vibrating through your jaw, releasing a burst of savoury richness. The texture is a duality of the hard, shattered crispness on the outside and the slightly softer, fluffy rice on the underside that has absorbed the flavours of the stew. It tastes of caramelised butter, toasted rice, and the floral hint of saffron. It is a flavour that speaks of home, of arguments over who gets the biggest piece, of a love that is expressed through the patience required to crisp the rice without burning it. The act of chewing the crunch is rhythmic and grounding, a simple, golden joy that satisfies a primal hunger for texture and warmth. The rhythmic crunch of the meal softens and transforms into a delicate, shimmering vibration in the air. We recline on cushions to listen to the liquid melody of the Santa. Imagine a trapezoidal wooden box made of walnut, strung with 72 metal strings, resting on a small table. The master musician holds 2 delicate wooden hammers, or mezrab, which are as light as feathers in his hands. He strikes the strings with a speed that blurs the vision, yet the sound is not chaotic. It is a cascade of crystal-clear notes: ping, shimmer, ring. The sound of the Santa is often compared to the sound of water flowing over stones, or rain falling on a metal roof. It has a metallic resonance that sustains and overlaps, creating a wash of sound that bathes the listener. The high notes are bright and wakeful, like sunlight, while the bass notes are deep and mournful. The music does not just enter your ears, it vibrates in the hollows of your chest. It is a hypnotic instrument, the hammers dancing in a blur of motion, while the musician remains still, a study in focus. The harmonics hang in the air long after the strings are struck, creating a drone that pulls the mind into a meditative state. You close your eyes and let the river of sound carry you away, the notes rippling around you, washing away the static of the day and leaving only a clear, ringing peace. The liquid music fades into the hushed, reverent silence of a sacred space, but one of a different faith. We drift to the New Ulfa district of Isfahan to enter the Vank Cathedral. From the outside, it appears modest, blending with the brick domes of the city. But as you step through the heavy wooden doors into the sanctuary, the world explodes into gold and blue. The interior is covered inch by inch with frescoes and gilded carvings that rival the great churches of Europe, yet possess a distinctly Persian soul. The walls are painted with stories from the Bible, rendered in rich oils that have darkened with age to a warm, mysterious patina. But it is the dome that captures your gaze. It is a deep, celestial blue, painted with gold filigree that catches the light of the votive candles. The scent here is different. It smells of beeswax, old varnish, and incense that has seeped into the plaster for 400 years. The air is cool and still. You sit in one of the wooden pews, feeling the weight of the history. This cathedral is a testament to tolerance and the survival of a community far from home. The light filtering through the windows is soft and dusty, illuminating the gold leaf until it seems to glow from within. It is a visual sanctuary, a place where the eyes can feast on beauty, while the soul rests in the quiet golden gloom, feeling the embrace of a sanctuary that bridges 2 worlds. The scent of beeswax and old varnish sweetens, becoming buttery and nutty as we travel to the holy city of Qom to open a round tin box of sohan. This is a traditional saffron brittle toffee, a confection that is intense and luxurious. Imagine lifting the lid of the tin. The aroma hits you immediately, a heavy, intoxicating cloud of rosewater, cardamom, and immense amounts of butter. Inside, the sohan is a flat golden disc, studded with green pistachios like emeralds in gold. It is not hard like glass. It has a friable, crumbly texture that melts the moment it touches your tongue. Break off a piece. It feels greasy and rich in your fingers. As you eat it, the toffee dissolves into a grainy, buttery paste that coats the roof of your mouth with a taste of saffron and sugar. It is incredibly sweet, a sweetness that demands to be paired with bitter black tea. The experience is one of pure indulgence. It is the taste of a gift, as Sohan is almost always bought to be given away. The richness of the butter and the calming properties of the saffron work together to create a heavy, satisfied feeling in the body, a sugar-induced relaxation that weighs down your eyelids and softens the edges of your thoughts. From the intimate sweetness of the tin, our perspective zooms out, way out, until we are looking down at a red line stretching across the green plains of Golistan. We are witnessing the Great Wall of Gorgon, the Red Snake. This is one of the longest ancient barriers in the world, second only to the Great Wall of China, yet it sleeps in obscurity. Imagine walking along the remains of this massive fortification, built over 1,500 years ago to keep out the northern Huns. The bricks are a deep, fired red, giving the wall its name. It stretches for almost 200 kilometers, disappearing into the Caspian Sea. The scale is humbling. You walk along the raised earthwork where the wall once stood tall, feeling the ghosts of the Sasanian soldiers who patrolled this line. On one side is the civilized world of ancient Persia, on the other, the wild steppes. The wind blows constantly here, rustling the tall grass that now grows over the ramparts. There is a melancholy beauty in the ruins, a sense of the immense effort humans expend to draw lines in the sand. The wall is slowly sinking back into the earth, reclaimed by the nature it sought to divide. Walking the line, you feel a sense of boundaries, of protection, of a long, silent vigil that has ended, leaving only the red bricks to warm themselves in the sun. The red line of history leads us west to the city of Hamadan, to stand beneath the soaring concrete pillars of the tomb of Avicenna, Ibn Sina. He is the prince of physicians, the father of modern medicine, and his resting place is a monument to the clarity of the intellect. The tower is inspired by the ancient spindle towers, reaching 12 pillars up to a conical roof, piercing the sky like a needle of wisdom. Stand at the base of the monument. It is made of rough granite and smooth concrete, materials that feel cool and solid. There is a library here, filled with thousands of manuscripts, and the air smells of old paper and dust, the scent of knowledge. Avicenna wrote The Canon of Medicine, a book that guided healers for centuries. Being here, you feel a proximity to that colossal mind. The architecture is rational, geometric and aspiring. It draws your eye upward, lifting your thoughts out of the messy emotional swamp and into the clear, cold air of reason. The surrounding plaza is lined with trees, a place where students come to read. There is a quiet dignity here, a stillness that comes from the understanding of the universe. You feel a sense of mental order, as if the mere presence of the master physician is diagnosing your stress and prescribing a heavy dose of peaceful contemplation. We leave the city of stone pillars and travel south to the arid landscapes of Yazd and Kerman to witness a masterpiece of thermal engineering, the Yakchal, or ancient ice house. Before electricity in the middle of the burning desert, the Persians stored ice. Visualize a massive conical dome rising from the desert floor, made of stepped adobe mud. It looks like a giant beehive. Step through the small low door into the interior. The temperature drop is shocking. Outside it is a blazing summer day. Inside it is a refrigerator. The vast cavernous space is dug deep into the ground to trap the cold. The walls are made of a special mortar called sarouj, egg whites, lime, goat hair and ash, which is completely water resistant and insulating. You're standing at the edge of a deep, dark pit where the ice was stored in layers of straw. The air is damp still and smells of wet earth. Sound echoes strangely here, bouncing off the curved walls. It is a temple to the cold. You can feel the chill seeping into your clothes, a refreshing shiver that wakes up your skin. The darkness is soothing, a respite from the relentless glare of the sun. It is a space of preservation, a hollow sanctuary where the winter is kept alive all year round, waiting to cool the fever of the day. The cool, enclosed darkness of the ice house opens up into a landscape that feels alien and vast. We stand on the coast of the Makran Sea in Chabahar, facing the Martian mountains, Kui Merik. These are not normal mountains. Erosion has carved the grey and white rock into thousands of jagged, conical miniature peaks that stretch as far as the eye can see. There is no vegetation, no green, just the endless rhythmic repetition of these strange, serrated forms. The sun beats down on the grey marl, making it glare with a stark, blinding beauty. You walk through the valleys between the cones, feeling like an astronaut exploring a new world. The silence is absolute, broken only by the crunch of dry soil under your boots. But turn your head, and there is the sea, the Gulf of Oman, blue and vast, crashing against the grey shore. The contrast between the dry, dead alien landscape and the teeming blue ocean is surreal. The air smells of salt and dry dust. The shapes of the mountains are repetitive and fractal. Staring at them creates a visual loop that empties the mind. It is a place of stark minimalism, stripping away the complexities of life and leaving only rock, sea and sky. You feel small, isolated and strangely free, wandering on the surface of a dream planet. From the dry, jagged peaks, we move to a nearby phenomenon that feels like the Earth is breathing. We are at the Gelafshan, the mud volcanoes of Chabahar. In the middle of a flat plain rises a mound of dried mud. You climb to the top where a small crater filled with grey, liquid slurry awaits. This is not hot lava. It is cold, pressurized mud coming from deep within the tectonic plates. Watch the surface. It is still for a moment, and then, bloop. A large bubble of gas rises, bursting with a wet, satisfying pop, flinging a splatter of cold grey mud into the air. Bloop, splat. The rhythm is irregular but continuous. It is the heartbeat of the earth. You dip a finger into the mud. It is shockingly cold and silky smooth, rich in minerals. The locals use it for healing. The sound of the bubbling is comical and soothing, a wet, guttural noise that echoes in the quiet plain. Watching the bubbles form, rise and burst is hypnotic. It is a slow-motion release of pressure, a natural lesson in letting go. You sit by the crater, mesmerized by the grey, viscous fluid, timing your breath to the rhythm of the Earth's own exhalation. The sensation of the cold, silky mud transforms into the feeling of soft, warm fur. We retreat indoors to a sunlit room where a creature of royal lineage is resting, the Persian cat. This is not just a pet, it is a living ornament, a being of pure luxury. Imagine a cat with long, flowing white hair that looks like a cloud that has decided to land on a velvet cushion. Its face is flat, with large, round copper eyes that look at you with a mixture of boredom and adoration. Reach out and stroke its back. The fur is impossibly soft, dense and fine, burying your hand up to the wrist. The cat stretches, extending its paws, and begins to purr. It is a deep, rumbly vibration that you can feel in your own chest. Thrum, thrum, thrum. The sound of a cat purring has been scientifically proven to lower blood pressure, and you can feel it working. The cat is a master of relaxation, a guru of sleep. It knows exactly how to find the patch of sunlight on the rug and melt into it. Watching it, you feel a sympathetic heaviness in your own limbs. The cat rolls over, exposing its fluffy belly, trusting and completely at ease. It is a tactile anchor, a warm, breathing weight that demands nothing from you but a gentle touch, reminding you that there is nowhere to go, nothing to do, but to curl up and enjoy the warmth of the moment. The gentle, rhythmic purring of the cat fades into the sacred silence of stone as we transport ourselves to the spiritual heart of Isfahan, standing within the vast courtyard of the Jame Mosque, also known as the Friday Mosque. This is not merely a building, it is an encyclopedia of architecture, a living organism of brick and mortar that has evolved over 12 centuries. Imagine standing in the centre of the open courtyard, surrounded by 4 towering eye-ones, massive vaulted portals that face each other in a conversation of symmetry. The silence here is heavy and textured, accumulated over 1,000 years of prayer. You walk toward the South Dome, the Nizam al-Mulk, a masterpiece of Seljuk engineering. Look up at the ceiling. It is not painted. It is pure, unadorned brick. But the bricks are laid in geometric patterns so complex, so mathematically perfect, that they create the illusion of the cosmos spinning above you. The light filters in through the open arches, casting long geometric shadows on the stone floor that shift slowly with the sun, marking the passage of time like a giant sundial. The air inside the sanctuary is cool and smells of ancient dust and stone, a dry, grounding scent. You run your hand over a pillar. The brick is rough, warm, and solid. There is no distraction here, no garish colours to agitate the eye, only the soothing repetition of form and the monochromatic palette of the earth. It is a space designed to turn the volume of the world down to zero, inviting you to wander through the forest of columns, losing yourself in the labyrinth of shadows, feeling the protective weight of history arching over your head like a sheltering sky. From the timeless permanence of the stone mosque, our focus shifts to the vibrant, ephemeral celebration of the new as we find ourselves standing before a Haftzin table, the centerpiece of Nowruz, the Persian New Year. It is the exact moment of the spring equinox, the instant when winter surrenders to life. Imagine a table draped in a silk cloth, laden with 7 symbolic items starting with the letter S. Your eyes rest first on the sabzeh, a tuft of wheat or lentil sprouts, a vibrant, shocking green that smells of fresh chlorophyll and damp soil. It is the scent of rebirth. Next to it is seeb, a red apple, polished to a high sheen, representing beauty and health. You pick it up. It is cool and heavy in your hand, a promise of vitality. There is senjed, the dried Olista fruit representing love, and samanu, a sweet pudding made from germinated wheat, representing affluence. A mirror sits at the top of the table, reflecting the candles that flicker on either side, multiplying the light. Within the mirror you see your own reflection, but softer, framed by the hyacinths that perfume the air with their heavy floral sweetness. A goldfish swims lazily in a glass bowl, a flash of orange movement in the stillness, symbolizing life within the sphere of existence. The atmosphere is one of anticipation and cleansing. You feel a lightness in your chest, a shedding of the old year's skin as the scent of the hyacinths wraps around you, promising that no matter how long the winter, the spring always, always returns. The domestic intimacy of the New Year table expands into a journey of breathtaking motion as we find ourselves in a car driving up the legendary Road 59, better known as the Chaluz Road. This is not just a highway. It is a ribbon of asphalt that threads the needle of the Alborz Mountains, connecting the arid plateau to the lush Caspian coast. Imagine the sensation of movement, a gentle swaying as the car navigates the winding curves. To your left, a wall of sheer rock rises straight up to the sky. To your right, the Karaj River rushes deep in the valley, a torrent of turquoise water crashing over white stones. The air changes as you climb. It grows cooler, denser, and richer with oxygen. You approach the Kandavan tunnel, carved through the solid mountain. Entering the darkness, the sound of the world is muffled, only to burst out on the other side into a completely different climate. Suddenly the brown rocks are covered in green moss, and the air is thick with mist. You're driving through a tunnel of trees, the branches of oaks and maples interlocking overhead to create a canopy of emerald leaves. Sunlight filters through in dappled patches, strobing gently on the dashboard. The road is a masterpiece of engineering and nature, a path that forces you to slow down and admire the precipice. The rhythm of the turns, left, right, is hypnotic, rocking you into a state of passenger bliss, where the destination matters less than the beautiful winding descent into the clouds. The winding road deposits us on a high, lonely ridge in the West Azerbaijan province. at the mystical site of Takht-e Soleiman, the Throne of Solomon. This is a place of legends, a sanctuary built on a mineral-rich hill formed by the sediment of a spring. We walk up the gentle slope to the top of the oval platform. There, in the centre of the ruins of a Sasanian fire temple, lies a lake. But this is no ordinary lake. The water is an artesian spring, rising from deep within the earth. It is a deep, impenetrable azure blue, still as glass, reflecting the sky and the crumbling stone arches of the temple. The water is highly mineralized and undrinkable, which has preserved it from pollution. It is pure, deadly, and beautiful. Stand at the edge. You cannot see the bottom, for the legend says it is bottomless, hiding the treasures of ancient kings thrown in to appease the gods. The wind whips across the high plateau, whistling through the arches of the Even Khosrow, carrying the scent of sulphur and wild grass. You feel exposed to the elements here, yet centered by the unmoving eye of the lake. It is a place where the four elements meet: the earth of the volcano, the water of the lake, the wind of the plateau, and the memory of the sacred fire. Staring into the deep blue abyss of the water, you feel a sense of vertigo, a pull toward the mysterious depths of the earth, silencing your surface thoughts. From the silent, mysterious lake, we move to a place of rhythmic sound and repetitive motion, a Galamka workshop in the dazzling square of Isfahan. This is the art of block printing on cotton, a craft that requires the steady beat of a human heart. Imagine entering the workshop smelling the pungent, earthy aroma of natural dyes: indigo, pomegranate skin, turmeric, and madder root. The air is thick with the scent of wet fabric and mordants. Listen to the sound. Thump, thump, thump. It is the sound of a heavy wooden stamp, the galam, striking the cloth. The artisan places the block dipped in dye onto the cotton and strikes it with the heel of his hand. The precision is instinctual. He builds the pattern layer by layer, first the black outline, then the red infill, then the blue, then the yellow. The patterns are paisley, botte, and arabesques, an endless garden of interlocking vines. The rhythmic thumping is soothing, a percussion of creation. You watch the plain white cloth transform into a tapestry of complex beauty, one beat at a time. The fabric, once finished, is washed in the river and spread on the stones to dry in the sun. Running your hand over a finished tablecloth, you can feel the slight indentation of the prints, the texture of the ink. It is a tactile reminder of the human hand, a rhythmic lullaby of labour that results in a tapestry of order and beauty. The rhythmic thumping of the woodblock slows and deepens, transforming into a low, vibrating hum that seems to come from the earth itself. We are deep in the Dasht-e Kavir desert, at a place called Rigi Jen, the dunes of the Jinn. For centuries, caravans avoided this place, fearing the spirits, but we are here to witness the phenomenon of the singing sands. It is late afternoon, and the wind is picking up, brushing across the sharp ridges of the sand dunes. As the sand grains slide down the steep slopes, the friction creates a low-frequency sound, a drone, a hum, sometimes even a sound like a choir of distant voices or a low-flying plane. Ooh! It is a spooky, beautiful song sung by the desert. You sit at the base of a massive dune, feeling the vibration in the ground. The sand is warm and incredibly fine, pouring through your fingers like liquid gold. The landscape is a sea of undulating waves, frozen in amber. There is no one else here. The vastness is terrifying and liberating. The sound of the dunes wraps around you, a brown noise that masks the ringing in your ears, a geophysical lullaby that has been playing to an empty audience for millennia. You close your eyes and let the hum resonate in your bones, feeling a strange kinship with the singing earth. The dry singing sands dissolve into cool, dark water as we travel north to the Anzali Lagoon on the coast of the Caspian Sea. We're trading the desert boat for a canoe, gliding silently through a maze of reeds. But suddenly the reeds part, and we are floating in a sea of green leaves and pink flowers. We've arrived during the blooming of the Caspian lotus, Imagine the surface of the water covered in massive, round, waxy leaves that repel water, droplets of dew rolling around on them like mercury. Rising above the leaves on thick stalks are the lotus flowers, large, magnificent blooms of soft pink and white. The air is humid and heavy with a sweet, aquatic perfume that smells of vanilla and wet earth. The silence is broken only by the splash of a frog or the rustle of a purple swamp hen. You reach out and touch a petal. It is cool and velvety. The water beneath is dark and nutrient-rich, the source of this explosion of life. As your boat pushes through the lily pads, they part gently and then close behind you, sealing the path, holding you in a private garden of water. The sight of thousands of lotuses facing the sun is an image of pure enlightenment and peace, washing away the dust of the interior and hydrating your soul with the lushness of the wetland. The soft pink of the lotus flowers concentrates and darkens, turning into the deep ruby red of the Zereshk barberry harvest in South Khorasan. We are standing in a field of thorny shrubs in late autumn. The trees are leafless, but the branches are heavy with clusters of small jewel-like red berries. The landscape is a stark contrast of the dry beige earth and the shocking crimson of the fruit. Imagine taking a cluster in your hand. The thorns are sharp, demanding respect and careful handling. You pluck a berry and place it on your tongue. It pops with a sharp electric tartness, a sour flavour that makes your eyes widen and your mouth water instantly. It is the taste of pure vitamin C, a bright acidity that cuts through lethargy. In the distance, you see farmers spreading the berries on open ground to dry in the sun, creating vast red carpets that stretch for acres. The smell is faint and fruity, like dried cranberries but wilder. This fruit will eventually be sautéed in butter and sugar to garnish saffron rice, glistening like rubies on gold. But here, on the branch, it is raw potential, a spark of intense colour and flavour in a quiet, monochromatic landscape. The sight of the red fields against the blue sky is visually saturating, filling your eyes with a richness that feels surprisingly restful. The crimson red of the berries shifts into the cool, calming turquoise of wet clay as we enter a pottery workshop in Lalajin, the world-craft city for pottery. The air here is thick with the smell of damp earth and the heat of the kilns. You're watching a master potter at his wheel. The rhythm is circular and endless. Whir, whir, whir. He throws a lump of grey wet clay onto the centre of the spinning wheel. With wet hands and a steady pressure, he centres it. Watch as the clay rises under his palms, obeying his will, transforming from a shapeless lump into a graceful cylinder, then bowing out into a bowl. It is a mesmerising dance of earth and water. The surface of the clay glistens, smooth as glass. Once fired, these pieces will be dipped in the signature Lalajin glaze, a deep, brilliant alkaline blue that cracks slightly as it cools, creating a crazed texture. You pick up a finished bowl. It is cool and heavy. The blue is the colour of the Persian sky, deep and infinite. Running your finger over the glaze, you feel the tiny spiderweb cracks, a texture that tells the story of the fire. The spinning of the wheel acts as a mandala, drawing your focus to the centre, centering your own mind just as the potter centres the clay. From the small centred bowl, we look up to see a structure that mirrors its cylindrical perfection on a colossal scale. We stand at the base of the Gonbadi Cavus Tower in the Northern Plains. This is the tallest brick tower in the world, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that has pierced the skyline for 1,000 years. It is a simple, 10-sided cylinder made of baked brick, rising 53 metres into the air, capped by a conical roof. There is no blue tile here, no intricate floral pattern, only the sheer, brutal elegance of brickwork. Walk up the small hill and stand right next to the wall. The bricks are hard, weathered by a millennium of wind and rain, yet the mortar holds firm. But the true magic is inside. Step through the entrance into the hollow interior. There are no floors, no stairs, just a vast empty shaft of darkness reaching up to a single eye of light in the roof. Clap your hands once, clap. The echo's extraordinary. The sound spirals up the chimney-like structure, reverberating and amplifying, hanging in the air for seconds before fading. It is a sonic cathedral. The air inside is cool and still, protected by walls that are meters thick. Standing in the centre of this echo chamber, you feel the solitude of the king who built it, a monument not to vanity, but to the enduring power of simple, perfect geometry. The tower acts as an antenna, connecting the earth to the sky, and you are the quiet current flowing between them. The echo of the clap inside the brick tower fades, dissolving into the silence of the high plains, and we embark on the final, most secret leg of our journey. We travel not to a place on a map, but to a landscape of the soul, whispered in the verses of the mystic poet Attar of Nishapur. We have arrived at the legend of the Simurgh. Imagine, if you will, a great gathering of thousands of birds. The nightingale, the hawk, the sparrow, the peacock, all setting out on a perilous flight to find their king, the legendary Simurgh, who lives on the peak of the mythical Mount Kaf at the edge of the world. They fly through 7 valleys, the valley of quest, of love, of knowledge, of detachment, of unity, of wonderment, and finally, the valley of poverty and annihilation. The journey is long and arduous. Many turn back, many are lost to the heat of the desert or the depth of the sea. By the time they reach the summit of the sacred mountain, only 30 birds remain. They stand trembling before the great curtain that hides the king, exhausted and stripped of their worldly feathers. Slowly the curtain is drawn back, but there is no giant golden bird sitting on a throne. There is only a vast, perfect mirror, and in that mirror the 30 birds see only themselves. They realize, in a flash of divine silence, the ultimate truth of the Persian soul. Si means 30, and Murg means bird. They are the Simurgh. The king they sought was within them all along. The journey was not to find something new, but to remove the veils that hid their own essence. You are those birds. You have travelled through the valleys of salt and snow, over the domes of turquoise and gold, through the scent of orange blossoms and the heat of the desert fire. You have searched for peace, for rest, for a destination of perfect calm. And now, standing at the summit of this long night, you look into the mirror of the darkness and realize that the peace you sought was never in the mountains or the mosques. It was in you. You are the stillness. You are the silence between the notes of the Santa. You are the deep blue void of the underwater cave. The destination is not a place to land. It is a realization to inhabit. You have arrived at the center of your own being, the point where the seeker and the sought become one, dissolved in the beautiful empty light of the Simurgh. The mirror slowly fades, turning into the velvet blackness of the night sky. The images of the journey begin to drift away like leaves on a slow-moving river. The turquoise tiles of Isfahan dim and soften. The roar of the waterfalls quiets to a gentle hush. The scent of the rosewater and the saffron drifts into the ether. The heat of the desert sand cools, radiating a gentle warmth that seeps into your bones, anchoring you to your bed. The world of forms, of colours, of sounds is receding, leaving only the pure, unadorned sensation of resting. Feel the weight of your body sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. The mountains have become clouds. The stone towers have become mist. There is no more distance to travel. The map is folded. The caravan has stopped. The camels are kneeling in the soft sand, their bells silence for the night. The fire has burned down to a soft, glowing bed of embers, pulsing slowly with the rhythm of your own breath. Inhale and watch the embers glow. Exhale and watch them dim. You're safe in the inner courtyard of your mind, protected by the high walls of sleep. The stars above are watching over you, millions of silent eyes blinking in the vast, benevolent dark. There is nothing left to see, nothing left to taste, nothing left to know. only the gentle rocking motion of the dark ocean carrying you home. You are weightless, you are timeless, you are whole. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.